What is up, everybody? It's been a while. I've been having a really fun time with the whole sleep apnea thing, so that's been fun. Today's pretty much the first day where I can actually think clearly. So you know, there's been that. But yeah, so in the few days here that I have not been streaming, and I've been like, you know, delirious with these sleep problems. How do I put this? So we got the summon tickets, right? The monthly summon tickets. So I'm really mad. By the way, I'm so mad about this. It's like hard to articulate. So I used the 5 summon tickets on my main account first, right? Because, you know, we're trying to get Brunhilde again because she got solo rated up again. And I got fucking Kiara again. And I'm like, how is this even a thing? Right? Like, you know, 5 stars are supposed to be rare and stuff. And so, yeah, I get fucking Kiara again. And I'm like, oh, great. So I go to the ult account, right? I'm like, okay, I guess we'll use these summon tickets. And on the last summon ticket, I finally got Brunhilde. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. I also got fucking Kiara again. I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. And so then I decided to do, and this is where I feel the lack of sleep may have had a play in this. I decided, you know what? I'm gonna do one 10 roll, right, on my ult, not on my main. You know, at no point have I rolled on my main. I'm waiting for Lost Belt 6, no problem. Okay, so I do 1 10 roll, and I get Kiara again, and I got 2 copies of the Yang CE. So it was actually only 1 away from being MLB. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. We'll try to get the Yang CE limit broken. And in doing that, it took a lot more SQ than I would have liked. It took like 200 SQ, but I did limit break it. And then I got Kiara again, and then I got extra Vlad, which that actually made this whole thing worth it. I'm not even kidding. Out of all this bullshit, it was all worth it because I got extra Vlad again, because I'm eventually going to grail him probably and stuff. And I got 2 more copies of Brunhilde, so that was okay. But I am kind of tired of the amount of Kiaras I got there. That was kind of stupid. But yeah, I barely played FGO over the last, like, I don't know, 4 days, because I've I've been sleeping, but not getting, you know, restful sleep, because that's how sleep apnea works. It's great. Thankfully, I've got my, I can breathe somewhat now, and I've been able. Yesterday, that was fun. Okay, so basically, the night before last, I was having the same problems as always. I was waking up like crazy. I wasn't getting any deep sleep. I felt terrible. But then throughout the day, my allergies calmed down a lot. And so just in the middle of the day, I just like slept almost all day. And I actually got actual sleep. And I was still so far behind on sleep that I still felt terrible, but I felt better. And then last night, it was kind of halvesies. I was still having a lot of breathing problems, and I couldn't get like proper sleep. But then like later in the night, I was able to actually sleep. So now I'm starting to feel better. I'm just hopeful that tonight, you know, I tell you, man, it's dumb. Like, you know, just allergies resulting in like that much breathing problems, and then you can't actually sleep. It's not great. But yeah, today's like the first day that I can actually think, so that's good. Yeah, I know. I'm burning the Kiaras, obviously. I don't really care for Kiara at all. And I know I might keep like 1 copy just in case she gets like a strengthening quest or something, or an interlude down the line that's got good gameplay. Because let's be real, I don't need that many rare prisms. Like I just don't. There's no reason to have that many rare prisms on those accounts. Like if it was this account, sure, I would burn them all because this account needs rare prisms really bad. But my main account and my regular ult account, they have plenty, so it's kind of whatever. Alright, so we gotta catch up on this event here. We're pretty much at the end though, so we're gonna just fight all the bosses and that kind of thing. Oh, excuse me, I should have done Mordred's quick card last turn. I didn't realize she didn't have her NP here, and I'd already done her 3rd skill, so now I have to, like, waste a turn. Man, it's been insanity. Like, I have dedicated more time to sleep than like ever before in my life, and I'm basically getting less like proper sleep than ever. Like, last night, I spent like 13 and a half hours on sleep, right? It was, that's pretty much how every day's been. It's fucked. I'm sure I don't need all these buffs, but I kind of want to see the damage. But hey, the ult account's got the Yang CE limit broken, even though I'll like never use it for videos outside of like solos that are like unbelievably hard or something. But I was kind of glad to get that. But it's not my ult though, so it's not even that useful, but still. Yeah, Raven's a pretty good support. She's like good, but not broken. But in very specific context, she's like kind of broken. There are certain challenge quests and stuff where she's really good. Alright, let's see where we're at here. Yeah, I have not like played FGO in a while. Okay, we're pretty much at the end here. I don't know how this account's gonna do the challenge quest because, you know, Guadia killed Mash and I haven't technically beat Solomon, so I can't use Mash. Kinda nasty. Okay, I think we have pretty much all of these to do. Let me do my free FP real quick. At least this account's not handicapped, though, other than, you know, no Merlin and Waver and that kind of thing, but, use our Hercules. So he's not Bond 10 yet. He's getting there, though. I think he's Bond 8.5, maybe? Okay, no, he's just Bond 8. So we have quite a ways to go. Those last two are quite rough. Yeah, I might have to go with the support Mash. I don't think this account, the problem is I don't think this account has a DPS for this challenge quest because we've really only leveled single target units. I mean, you could do it with single target, it would just take fucking forever. So we'll probably end up summoning a strong AoE person, and then I don't know what we'll do about not having Mash. We'll figure it out. Technically, oh wait, I don't think I can do the challenge quest. I think we have to beat Guadia to do the challenge quest, and I don't really want to beat Guadia until I can do like, you know, I want to have a stream where we like fight Guadia a bunch with chats units, and I want to like record, you know, 100 Face versus Guadia and Achilles versus Guadia and stuff. So yeah, I don't think we're even allowed to do the challenge quest. Feels bad, dude. No lore for us. All right, red hair time. God, I have interesting memories about this one. What do we want to do here? I kind of want to just summon something that won't do anything. And see how this account does on its own. Well, the thing is, next year you could get a second lore from the challenge quest, so... Because it's not about, you know, honestly, challenge quests don't matter very much, it's just, you know, lores are nice, so... This is funny, you know, you can't use that. Alright, let's see, he's got his NP, skill seal, gets a bunch of attack buffs, break his health bar, evade at low health, yada yada. I don't think I have anyone with buff removal. Wow, this account doesn't even have Medea. I just realized, holy crap, this account has nothing leveled. Look at this. Jesus. Like, it's one thing of each class, pretty much. This is worse than the 1 to 3-star account, man. Like, there are no options here. It's pretty much just straight value. How the fuck did we get to Solomon on this account? I guess this is okay. Maybe that. Alright, this should work. Technically, I should do that. That would make it really easy, but that's kind of boring, so... Well, we'll do that for Ishtar, though. I wish I had the Canis CE for David. It's such a great, like if you're not sure what to bring, you just go with that, because then you cast evade on turn 1 and he's got 4 hits of not taking damage. It's pretty good. It's just, I don't, there it is. Canis CE with the gifted sub. Thank you, I appreciate that. But, I can't ever sneak one by on that one, but thank you. What do we give David? I guess that's fine. Alright, our boy here. There we go, alright. This thing's almost 10. It's funny though, this account has everything it needs to solo, or not solo, well actually I guess you could summon someone to solo Guadia, but we could do Guadia no problem. Ushi's perfectly fine as DPS, we got Hans leveled up enough, and we just summon Asterios, and we would be good to go. Oh yeah, so Epic 7 did like a big update, they did like the 3.0 for them basically. Boy, they're faster than FGO. I'll probably stream that soonish. I'll just ignore all the backseating, try to use trash a lot. Like they basically made a new story mode, and it's supposed to be harder because basically you have the original story in Epic 7 that if you're like a brand new account, you don't have a lot of like a gear and stuff. It's like pretty fun and interesting, right? But then they made 2.0, the second story, and it's like at that point you'd have pretty good gear and everything, and the story was just a joke. Like it was so fucking easy because it was just, you could be so much stronger. I should have brought Atlas. I forgot we have that. Oh, this is going to be so annoying. Oh my god, this is gonna be so annoying. This thing like never goes away. I think it goes away on the second health bar, but it'll proc first. This is going to be so fucking annoying. Oh my god. Well, 100 Face is about to have a bad time. Oh, never mind. It's a mental debuff. Thanks, David. Way to go, red hair, casting mental debuffs. Good job, champ. I like how there's like 2 of those in the game, by the way. I think sleep is now, though. That new debuff they added, I think, has actually been full, so that makes David a bit better. I'm so used to that not working. I'm pretty much used to it only working on charm. Like, that's pretty much all. It's like, oh, hey, charm, you can deal with that one, and that's normally it. Wow, your back row gets it too. I didn't realize that. I guess because your back row doesn't normally show up until you've broken the first health bar. Do I want to cast her second skill for the art up? Normally I would say yes, but I'm going to say no here because I've got David's evade. Yeah, I figured sleep was mental, which makes sense. Well, that was unlucky for Mozart, but he'd already used his skills, so it's alright. I don't want to save David's MP for a turn where he decides to evade. Really would like him to hit 100 Face. He hasn't done that a single time. There you go. Okay, David getting his ass kicked. But yeah, 3.0 in Epic 7 is supposed to be harder, so I'm gonna hopefully stream that soon. Just trying to gear up a few trash mobs, because I want to use mostly trash mobs for it, because it's, you know, I enjoy that game, so. Yeah, 100 Faces NP is basically just all 100 Assassins, Mac kind of guy, pretty much. Because the NP is not an attack, it's actually the act of splitting into 100 in the first place. It's not an NP you'd actually see activated like that. Right, I have no buff removal, so... this is gonna hurt a lot. David, I could really use you to like live like 2 more turns. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I could give him the evade. I might have to. I'll try to wait 1 turn. I don't want him to skill seal though. It doesn't work that way. No, that doesn't work that way. Like, skill seal only stops the enemy's normal 3 actions per turn. When you break his health bar, it's a preset gimmick. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, if you use skill seal, then Red Hair couldn't do his, like, normal attack up and, like, crit up. Or his quick up and his crit up. And you can do stuff like that. But the gimmicks for breaking the health bar are going to happen no matter what. Now, there are a few random-ass bosses where when you break the health bar, they do a normal action. But that's not how Red Hair is. Now, you could do buff block, that would work, because the action of casting those 3 attack ups is a preset action. That's, you know, he could be stunned or charmed and he would still be able to cast the triple attack up in the gimmick. It's not part of his, you know, action per turn. But if you have buff block doesn't care, right? Buff block doesn't care how you applied the buff. It doesn't matter if it's like one of your 3 actions per turn, or if it's like a preset stage gimmick. It doesn't matter. Whenever the buff, like the effect is trying to be applied to something, it'll fail. Now that doesn't always work though, because there are some buffs that'll be in like that little box, you know, where like, oh hey, you break their health bar and they get like a permanent damage reduction, and it is what it is, right? It's in like that little protected box. And it's just like a permanent thing. Buff block won't work on that, but if it's just a regular buff here, like that just applies to the enemy, then buff block will stop it. So like if you had Fuma, Fuma would stop it. Pretty sure David's gonna die here. I guess I guess what I'm gonna do is I'll have David in P just so he can't cast the evade. But yeah, I'm not gonna be able to use it on the evade because David's probably host. Hey Rex. But yeah, so like preset stage gimmicks, you know, they're gonna happen when you break the health bar. It doesn't matter if they're charmed, stunned, doesn't matter. But like the effect itself that is being cast, you know, if that can be stopped or not, just depends on the boss. Yep, David died that turn, so. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly how his AI works. I know he won't cast evade unless he's 50% life or lower. So I think he would have cast it there if he did not have skill seal. But now that he has skill seal, he went past that turn. I don't know if he'll just like, okay, now I'll cast evade. Like I don't know if it's one of those things where he missed the timing and so now you won't cast it at all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait to cast Ku's in P because I don't think it would kill here. So I might as well do normal damage while I can. And then in case he decides, you know, okay, now I'm gonna cast the evade, you dick. Right, then I'll have Ku's sure hit. Doesn't look like he's gonna cast it, so I think we just go for him now. Sadly, Ku does not have a CE giving him any damage here, but they'll do fine, I think, because, you know, they buffed Ku for some fucking reason. Yeah, just do 60k at neutral when you're level 67, that's fair. Dude, that's bullshit! Like, look, I'm a big Ku fan and everything, so I'm not like biased against him, but that's bullshit. Like, why does, like, that's crazy. Like, Hunterface is over there doing like, you know, 80k or some shit at counter class, and Ku's not even level 70 for God's sakes, and he's sitting there doing 60k with no buffs, by the way, and he wasn't even low in health, right? If he's low in health, he does way more than that. Ku is the only Lancer, no one else will be buffed. And like his first skill, the attack up, doesn't care about rank, right? So you get the full effect of it regardless of the rank of your gut skill. Speaking of which, I should see if I can get him to 70 now, actually. I swear to God, they will not buff Ku again. They can't possibly do that. Like, I kind of felt that way before, but like, Jesus Christ. Like, you really can't do that again. Like, that's just silly. And then Beastly's over there, just like, hold my beer. Like, even DW at this point, I don't think has any delusions of Ku needing a buff. Because no one in the right mind, even the biggest Ku haters, would be like, yeah, Ku has really good survivability, right? Everyone knows that. Like, everyone agrees Ku has really good survivability. So that's one big positive, right? Then he's got, you know, an upgraded NP now, so that's good. And then he also has an attack buff for himself now. And then he also removes debuffs. It's just like, and he has the highest attack stat out of all the 3-star Lancers, so. Alright, who would I give the foe items to? Okay, Arash, maybe. Hans could use the health ones. Yeah, we'll give Hans the health ones, because I'm going to try to get Hans' 3rd skill upgraded soon. We're going to start using Hans a lot. Like, we haven't used him on this account much, but we will. Wait, hold on. Let me see if I have what I need to ascend him. I do, okay. I don't think buffing a skill or an NP a second time will be common at all, but I do think it'll happen when they deem it necessary. Because I think they've realized, you know, because they had obviously been following a pattern of not buffing something a second time, right? It was literally 5 years into the game, and they just now did it. So they were obviously working under the assumption of not to do that. But they've obviously realized that there are some units that are, it just doesn't, they were so fundamentally busted from the beginning that there's just no fixing them with their standard buffs. Now, funnily enough, I don't think Emiya really meets that criteria, but he's also really popular, so I think that's why he got it. But yeah, I think there are, from time to time, we'll see it. I do not think it's going to be common. I do not think it's going to be common, but I do think every once in a while you'll see units get a second buff. It'd be nice if, you know, I don't know, they would do that for, like, Jekyll and Hyde, for example. That would be a good one. I think we can actually get Hans' 3rd skill upgrade now, which is good. Alright, let me think. David's a pretty important unit. Might give him the foe items, although he doesn't need the attack ones that much. Who's the next thing we level? Let me think. We'll be going into like Lost Belt 1 and that kind of shit. Let me think. I mean, Billy's good. Bedivere would be good. I'm thinking Bedivere. There's a lot of uses for Bedivere. Ku gets a buff that stuns every enemy but the one he's targeting for his 1v1 run. Funnily enough, that actually is lore accurate, pretty much. But yeah, let's not. Yeah, I think Bedivere is going to be the next one we end up leveling. It's kind of weird to give him the foe items though, because I haven't actually leveled him yet. But yeah, it makes sense to start working on Bedivere. So yeah, I think I'm going to give him this stuff. Probably Bedivere. What else is like? We do need a AoE person. We literally only have a Rosh. I guess Spartacus. Yeah, I think Spartacus. Leveling Bedivere and then Spartacus. Then what after that? We need to start working on utility, like, really bad. Our utility options are really shit. So things like Fuma, Medea, that kind of thing, Alex. Yeah, we literally have no utility on this account at all. We just have basic value. Which is, at the beginning, what you need. But, yeah, we're gonna have to work on some other things. Yeah, Hyde needs a second NP buff, very much so. That's the way to fix him, honestly, is making his NP better. Hey, thank you for the resub, bunny. Alright, okay, this is the interlude. We'll do the boss fights first, then we'll get all the stupid interludes out of the way. Okay, this is Trap Face, which had like that debuff that like just starts ramping up. I guess we'll need to bring Atlas then. Yeah, again, I'm gonna try to beat all these default ones without summoning anything worth a fuck. Yeah, I'm gonna need Billy at some point. Oh yeah, we can Grail. This account's not handicapped, like, other than Waiver Merlin nonsense, you know, Scatty and that kind of thing. I can do whatever I want, so yeah, we could use, I'm gonna totally Grail Hercules, man. It's gonna be great. I know I shouldn't Grail Ku because I always Grail Ku, but I'm probably gonna Grail him some. I probably won't Grail him to 100 because that's just silly, but I probably will Grail him some because he's my favorite character. I mean, what do you want from me? I'm having a hard time with Demeter because I don't have many units. Which 3 stars do you think I should level up? David and Ushi are definitely the best 2 units for that fight. They're extremely useful. And then Ricky Boy's good too if you happen to have them. If you have an MP5 Ricky Boy, you could pretty much win with, if you use them right, with Alex, Ushi, and Ricky Boy. But the exact things to level is going to depend on what you have, because maybe you've got a really powerful rider already, then you need more supports. Like let's say you've got like Ozzy or something. If you have Ozzy, then I'd be like, okay, you should probably then level supports. You know, like, you know, Hans or something, David, those kinds of things. But yeah, for general advice for Demeter, I would say Alexander, Ricky Boy, Ushi are really good, and then like David and Hans are really good supports there. Okay, just in case by some miracle this is a mental debuff. Okay, I didn't think so. I was gonna cast that anyway though. He's the one that's the most important. Terrible opening hand, but what are you gonna do? Oh yeah, if you happen to have Martha, yeah, Martha's amazing for Demeter. Both Marthas, honestly, both Marthas are great for Demeter because Martha #1, you know, she'll remove the debuffs and stuff from the teammates. You know, give you some extra survivability, does good damage herself, can remove, the most important thing, she can remove Demeter's defense up. So it's like, oh hey guys, I have my MP this turn, I want to nuke this turn. Let me quickly remove her defense up and then I'll nuke her, right? Like, so regular Martha is great for Demeter because she's a rider. She removes the giant defense buff on a key turn. She gives your team survivability. She does okay damage herself. And then Martha #2 is really good because she's got good survivability. Demeter's divine, so Ruler Martha gets the 3rd skill and does huge damage and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, both Ushis, but both Marthas are really good there. Another thing to just keep in mind is a big negative, like from Demeter's perspective, she has a problem, like where her hit count is so high, right? And it's not like it's random, right? A lot of times you don't know who the boss is going to attack, even if they have a high hit count. But you know what's going to happen. There's a very high level of predictability in what happens in the Demeter fight. It's actually one of the least RNG fights in the game. If you play well and you have a good setup, you will pretty much win every time. Because Demeter follows a set pattern of her gimmicks. Like when she casts the defense up, it's at a set time. When she does the MP battery, it's at a set time. If you just, she's literally scripted, right? She's following a script, right? She's doing the same shit in the same order. And then not only that, but her attacks are AoE, so you know what's going to happen, right? You know she's going to do a big hit count on every single unit on your team all the time. So you can kind of guarantee, oh, I'm going to get about this much MP gain from her attacking me this turn. And so you can kind of like, oh, I don't need to do like, you know, an art chain here because I'm going to get my MP anyway, so I can do some damage here instead. Right, stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of guaranteed MP gain on your team, so that it can help you a lot. So units like Asterios or, you know, Caligula or whatever, units that generally would have a hard time getting their NP are going to have an easier time getting their NP. And so you can kind of rely on NPing her often, if that makes any sense. Okay, what are we doing here? I like how Robin doesn't have his NP yet, because You know what? We're not gonna lose or anything, but I'm just gonna restart just because I don't need the AP, and that was I could so easily get so much more NP gain on Robin there. I'd rather just do it again because like that was kind of silly how we had hand number 1 where we had no Robin cards, and then the deck shuffled because George died, and then we still got no Robin cards. I'm like, I'd rather not. I mean, you don't really ever put Asterios and Caligula on the same team. It's generally one or the other. There's just not much reason to put them both on the same team. Now, actually, I take that back. You might put them on the same team, but you're probably not going to put them in the same line, right? You'd probably put like one in the front and one in the back. The only fights where you might use them both at the same time is if it's like against a boss like Demeter or like Guadia or something like that that just has a crazy high hit count. But normally you're not going to use them at the same time. You're normally going to use one of them and then, you know, have supports for them and that kind of thing. But it's normally things like Nash, Hans, you know, and obviously using more OP things, you know, Merlin, bullshit like that. Man, I'm feeling better today, but my god, I still feel... Like, okay, so up before today, I basically couldn't function. Like, my brain was not working. I was like hallucinating and all that fun stuff. Today's like the first day where I feel like a normal human being, but oh my god, I am still so freaking tired. It's ridiculous. Yeah, but he didn't. First off, he didn't. I don't think he used them on the same row. I don't remember, but that's also a very particular fight. I would be willing to say that's probably the only fight anyone's ever done that. Because there's just no reason to bring them both normally. They step on each other's toes so much. You know, that's a very specific fight because of her gimmicks with the quick charge and the really big defense buff and all that. There's almost like against Guadia, why would you use both? Like, what the fuck is the point? Right? Like, because the thing is, the whole point of Caligula is he makes it so the enemy doesn't NP very often, if ever, right? But Asterios' thing is making them do 0 damage. There's no point in doing both at the same. There's literally no point in doing both at the same time, outside of maybe Demeter specifically. But that's like the only one I can even think of. And even then, I don't think he used them at the same time. And also that also just will not. I'm not trying to pick on that guy. That guy does good work, and like trying to beat that boss with 1 to 2 stars is bullshit. You kind of have to rely on nonsense. But that setup that he did was ungodly unreliable and requires like very specific craft essences and is super RNG. There's nothing he can do about it. That's literally the best setup you could possibly do with 1 to 2 stars there, because believe it, I don't think people understand this. 1 to 2 stars suck, right? Like, they're very utility based. There are 1 to 2 star units that are good, but when you're trying to beat bosses with nothing but 1 to 2 stars, you are lacking. Like, there are giant holes in your ability. It has nothing to do with skill or anything. It's just there's so many niches that don't exist, right? You don't have like a lot of proper damage dealers for a lot of classes. There's a lot of like ability types that don't exist. Like 1 to 2 stars are so limited, right? Now they're really good. Like 1 to 2 stars can fill in gaps, great. Like, you know, Asterios is awesome, Hans is awesome, George is awesome. These units are great, but they're not an entire team, right? They're a cog, and like a lot of times they need to complement a specific unit type that literally doesn't exist for 1 to 2 stars. So a lot of times what you have to do to win with 1 to 2 stars is bullshit, right? You have to rely on like an ungodly RNG, or you have to rely on crazy craft essences carrying the shit out of it. It's like that fucking Phantom video I did, right? Phantom is not helping very much. That fight was basically golden, or not, it was basically Art of Death and command codes. You know, with using Phantom as a vessel to try to beat Red Hair, right? That's what was happening. It's not Phantom being, you know, being good. And it's the same thing for 1 to 2 stars a lot of the time, where they're just so limited. They don't have a lot of classes, and when some of the classes they have don't have any prop. There's no DPS Lancer really. The best you have is Gareth, which even then is not that much of a DPS Lancer, right? You don't have like a lot of nukers just don't exist for 1 to 2 stars, so we just have to rely on so much RNG and just shenanigans to carry them. So a lot of like this, I'm not hating on the 2 star guy. He's awesome, and the fact that he figures that stuff out is great. But that stuff is not a template to how to beat those bosses at all. Normally, fundamentally, the kind of teams that he's doing will not work for most people. because they're not going to have those craft essences. They're not going to have that. They're not going to reset that many times for good RNG. It's just in 1 to 2 stars with such specific toolkits and stuff. The whole team comp, like the fact that that guy used Caligula and Asterios does not mean the average player's like, oh yeah, if I'm going to do a budget team there, I should use Asterios and Caligula. No, you shouldn't. Like, absolutely not. There are way better ways to do that with a budget setup. The only reason he did it that way is because 1 to 2 stars don't have any better fucking options. Yeah, command code solo, pretty much. I'm gonna be up here real quick. I need to move one of my fans. It's in the other room and it's kind of hot in here, so give me a second. Alright, I'm back. What I'm getting at is, like, the 1 to 2 guy is awesome, but what he's doing is he's challenging himself. That's what he's doing. He's like, trying to, you know, handicap himself in certain ways to have fun. And do something interesting. Right? He's not trying to make a baseline of what's possible with budget teams. Because if you're trying to do something practical with budget, it ain't that, right? There's no reason to not use 3 stars, right? And most budget players aren't gonna have, you know, 3 poster girls. You know, they're just not gonna have that kind of stuff, right? So what he's doing is incredibly difficult. It's incredibly difficult. It's very challenging, but it's just not a baseline for what low stars can do, right? And if you're trying to beat a boss in a budgety way, I generally would not use his stuff as a guide because his stuff is so specific to the craft essences he has and like the kind of thing he's trying to do. It's still really cool though. I mean, I've said this before. He's he's got some of the funnest videos in my opinion, just because it's such a different way to play the game, right? And it's like so unique. So I could do way more damage if I did David's NP because it would overcharge Robin's, but I'm just going to take the double art crit because that's a lot of NP game. And it's just a lot, and also never mind doing 1 to 2 star stuff. You know, sometimes 1 to 3 star stuff, or even higher than that. Sometimes you just may not have the right units for the fight, and so you're going to have to rely more on RNG or CEs or whatever. It's just going to happen sometimes, but it's going to happen the most with 1 to 2 stars because they objectively have the least options. So we could have NP'd again, but we got drained. Feels bad. And now we don't have much to work with here. I have to hope the twat decides to hit Robin here. I feel like this is probably going to be the easiest fight though, just because budget archers are insane. Oh, wait, 1 turn I can overcharge Robin. Alright, why not? I don't think he quick charges, but just in case. He can. Yeah, I don't know how this guy's AI works. I know he has a battery skill, I just don't know if the AI actually can use it whenever he wants. A lot of times it's tied to, like, you know, defensive, so they use it at certain, like, health thresholds and crap like that. David is probably not going to do much damage, because I think you do, with this debuff, you do less damage each turn or some shit, but, won't matter too much. Although, yet again, we could have done the art chain. They do battery per turn in kind of weird ways on the enemy. Sometimes it's just a battery, sometimes it's like 1 tick per turn, stuff like that. A lot of times it's just a battery, like a normal one. Yeah, David only did 27k. That's pretty bad. Well, if he was going to do a survival skill or whatever, he can't, so... I would have much preferred he had attacked Robin there, but oh well. This is a pretty bad turn to do that, because Robin only has 1 card, but we only gotta do 20k, so... 825. And there it is. I fucking... That's the thing, I knew he was gonna, like, want to do a survivability skill, but, you know, I was all like, you know, we'll skill seal him, and then like, oh, we'll crit him, but then we only got 1 fucking Robin card. This is bullshit. Now we have to wait forever. Okay, I wasn't sure how much damage you would do there, but, because we got that debuff, but apparently it's fine. Like how everyone got stunned. Alright, well that was easy. It's like archers are good or something. But yeah, when you do 1 to 2 star stuff, so there's just a lot of like unique challenges that you wouldn't have otherwise. Because like, if you have 3 stars, you have, yeah, you are lacking some things. You don't have like a single target Avenger. You've got Antonio, but you know he's AOE and is a lot of times not going to really fill the role of like a Jolter or someone would against a ruler. He's more of an AoE person, and you're lacking, you know, an alter ego, and you don't have a ruler. So you know, there's gaps, but you know, you've got things like you've got Robin, right? So you've got a standard, you know, Saber Killer. You know, you've got Ku. You've got, you know, you've got these things. So you have a lot of standard DPS. You got Ushi. You're fighting a caster. You've got Ushi, right? But if you do 1 to 2 star, you don't have that stuff. So you don't have a lot of standard DPS. So you have to rely a lot on berserkers and stuff like that. And it changes things a lot. Like it warps the like what you have to do so much. Yeah, Umbra. Oh yeah, that's the one, guys. That'll fuck up the ruler boss for you. I'm telling you, it's not possible. You literally. At least for challenge quests and a lot of the harder main story fights, I guess it'd be possible if you use command spells. But a lot of the harder challenge quests and main story boss fights, you could not do with 1 to 2 stars and 1 to 2 star craft essences. You just can't. Like, and I can say that with a lot of confidence because the 1 to 2 star guy knows what he's doing. That's the thing, he really knows what he's doing, right? And he's really pushing it sometimes, right? And he's over there using Poster Girl and the anti-divinity CE and K-scopes, like MLB K-scopes and shit like that, like, and he's pushing it, right? A lot of times he's really pushing it with that kind of stuff. So if you go down to just 1 to 2 star CEs, and like, I know this because I've done 1 to 3 stars and 1 to 3 star CEs, and that's so hard. Like, it's so fucking hard, right? And then, so if you cut out at least there's some 3 star CEs are not particularly good. Let's be honest. They're not amazing, but at least they're okay at certain things. You know, they've got a 50% starting NP. They've got the NP on death. they've got a few things. 1 to 2 star CE. I mean, it's just not happening. Like, it's absolutely not happening. There are so many bosses that there's just no fucking way you're gonna do it with 2-star units and 2-star CEs. Like, I just, no. Now, maybe if you could grail, like, if you could, like, grail and you grailed every fucking 1 to 2 star in the game, right? And then maybe with command spells, then you could probably get somewhere, but, you know, the typical restrictions, no way. Alright, we got Ishtar over here, which this one I'm going to use the damage CE on, because fuck that. Especially because I'm not summoning a unit worth a damn. Yeah, you'd only have a Rosh, and then it's like you'd have a 2-star CE. Like, yep, okay. Phantom's buff is barely impactful at all. It almost never matters. Like, I can't even stress how unimpactful his buff is right now. Now, there may be bosses they add over time that it'll be helpful for, but it just doesn't matter, because a lot of the times you use Phantom anyway, like, the difference between him and other assassins, the buff doesn't suddenly make him, like, better than them. They're still better than he is. And a lot of the bosses are female anyway. So it's not like the gender thing even matters. The buff is irrelevant. It's just like Moriarty. If Moriarty is working with a unit that's already evil, his recent buff does nothing. It's like nothing happened. It's the same, right? And you're like, well, he got the buff removal. And yeah, sometimes that's good, but that it's so niche because you already have Medea and Alex, right? You already have those, and then so you need to specifically need to have buff removal and an assassin, because otherwise you're better off with Alex or Medea. And then it has to be a boss where you actually care. There's a lot of bosses where they don't have any buffs that you care about removing, right? Like yeah, all bosses will cast things like attack up or crit up or an evade or a defense up, and yeah, it's nice if you can remove it, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not such a big deal. It's like, oh guys, I was gonna bring 100 Face, but because this boss randomly casts an attack up, I'm gonna bring Phantom instead. But no, that's not gonna happen. Like, the boss has to have something, a very nasty buff. And yeah, there are bosses that have sometimes really nasty buffs that are like part of the fights and make them much, much, much harder. Like Demeter, for example. But you're not gonna bring Phantom against Demeter! Like, you're just gonna bring Alex! Like, Jesus Christ! Like, Phantom is so bad for Demeter. It's not like, oh guys, he can remove buffs now. Now he's good for this fight. No, he's still absolutely terrible there, and you're not gonna bring him. And again, so a boss might pop up where it makes some degree of sense to bring Phantom, but they might be female, and you probably were going to bring him anyway, and then buffs just happen to not be a big part of the fight, so it's a very niche buff. It is a very niche buff that only applies to, like, extremely specific circumstances. I really stand by this. Out of all the bosses in the game, if you're doing 1 to 3 star stuff, or even 1 to 2 star stuff, for God's sakes, the only fight where I'm like, oh yeah, Phantom is way better now, is Lee's Students. That's the only one. And even then, I'm not actually sure he's going to be better. I'm not sure he's going to actually make the cut. Now, if you were doing 1 to 2 star stuff against Lee's Students, so no 3 stars, so no 100 Face, then yeah, Phantom will make the cut easy. If you're doing 1 to 2 star stuff against Lee's Students, new Phantom will make the cut easy. But also, basically, every assassin makes the cut, because there's not enough 1 to 2 stars. You're pretty much going to bring, like, you know, Phantom, double Curse Arm, maybe Code, or, you know, it's like you're just going to bring like every star assassin. So of course he's gonna make the cut, but if he wants, it's very easy to justify him there. But in 1 to 3 star, I'm not actually sure he makes the cut anymore. I know that was the question. That's why I fucking answered it. But I'm also just talking about Phantom in general because I get to do that. Okay, I'm actually gonna use the damage CE because fuck this noise. Do we? You know, I kind of want to just use. I don't know if this makes any sense because this boss is shtick. You know what? Fuck it. We put so much effort into Hercules on this account. Fuck it. Hold on. I'm gonna upgrade his skills a bit too. Like, this boss takes like no damage from like normal cards and from NPs, but it takes a lot of damage from crits. So I'm gonna try to set Hercules up to just one-shot the first health bar, and I think we can do that. I wish everyone though had to actually play like with 1 to 3 stars, and then have to play with 1 to 3 stars, but with only 1 to 3 star craft essences. Because I'm telling you, nobody like cares about that. No one really like. It is such a handicap. I don't think people understand like just how much your value drops like a fucking rock when the only CEs you have available to you are these like basic AF pieces of shit. Like it's crazy. Yeah, Mori 2 turned this, but that was on an account that actually had options. Do I upgrade this skill? You know what? Yeah. Because, like I said, low stars are so limited. A lot of times they need help from things like Poster Girl or whatever, right? And you cut that stuff, it's bullshit. Like, it's just so fucking bullshit. Yeah, Herc's gonna fucking destroy this. I'm trying to think if I even... I just don't want Herc to get a bunch of value on turn 1 here. And then we don't have Mozart. But I have to bring a support, and like George is like the only one I can throw away, so... That's fine though, because then we'll have 2 crit turns. Yeah, this is fine. This is totally fine. I don't think our back row is even gonna really matter, but Alright. It's the red press red time. I think well, it's actually ley line, but let's not go there anyway. But I think that's the only, a lot of people, that's the 1 3-star craft essence. I would say the 3-star craft essences that normal players actually bother to use is ley line and Battle of Kimlan. Now, a lot of people have the Jolter event one, which is Battle of Kimlan, but better, right? But even then, for team cost reasons, you might use Battle of Kimlan anyway. And then also Jeweled Sword. I will say Jeweled Sword has plenty of legit use because its team cost is so low, and you know it actually is a pretty nice craft essence for support units and that kind of thing. Black Keys can be good, but only because of team cost. It very specific circumstances, right? Like generally, it's not all that necessary. Oh yeah, I can't make as many stars because this thing's not 10. Feels bad. And I guess I will say on new accounts, there's a few other ones you'll use on new accounts. Like the defense up one, you know, until you get the Kodamine one, you know, the dagger or whatever is a pretty nice stand-in. But I think a lot of people just don't realize how much damage and survivability and utility you actually get from craft essences. Like even like not you don't need like Gacha ones. Like even just the like well I mean they're from the Gacha, but like the unlimited Gacha ones have a lot of good value. You don't need just it's not just the limited time ones, right? Like they're a pretty big deal. Okay, this is an absolutely terrible hand. I'm all like ready to blow her up, and I'm like yeah, but you don't get any fucking cards. I also like having the double 40% crits there and no crit. But we'll get 100% crits as soon as Hercules gets some cards. How? How did it divide the deck up like that? So pretty much all of Hercules, that's so dumb. This is really stupid because this is like the perfect way to split up the cards where I cannot get good damage, right? So hand 1 had his Quick and his Art card, right? Which those don't do particularly good damage on their own. But now I can't use them for a Brave Chain, you know, because the Brave Chain's really good, even if it does have a Quick card in it or something, right? But now the 3 Busters are split up though, because there's 1 Buster in this hand, but that's not enough, you know, this turn wouldn't do particularly good damage, right? So the last hand is just 2 Buster cards and nothing else, so you won't be able to chain or anything like that. That is really annoying. Like that is some bullshit right there. And not only that, not only did it divide the deck in a way that lowered my damage dramatically, but it divided the deck in a way where I have to wait forever. Like I literally had to wait the max amount of turns. Well, we should do plenty of damage here regardless, but that was dumb as hell. Yeah, we lost our attack buff. I mean, imagine we could have done that so many turns ago. Like, I mean, we could have done that so many fucking turns ago, but it was just like, nah. Do I want to save David? He got his NP? Probably not. This was honestly like a sure win though. I mean, we had absolutely horrible luck there, and it still won really easy, so. Kinda like Hercules is good or something. Alright, now we got all the interludes to do, which take a minute. And then I'm pretty sure we can't do the challenge quest, but I mean, we could go kill Guadia right now, but like I said, I want to record some stuff first. You know, because I'm probably not going to have another account at Guadia for a long time. Oh yeah, we have that fight though. That one's a pain in the butt. Also, we have no cast or DPS, so we're going to have to use Hercules for this shit. Random Odysseus. I'm more worried about human Guadia than demon Guadia though. Like that's always how it is on accounts like this. Assuming you know what you're doing. Because it's so easy for even a piece of shit account like this to beat demon Guadia. But it's kind of easy to be in a situation where... Will you shut up, you stupid kid? Oh my god. Anyway, it's pretty easy for a new account not to have a lot of units that are that useful for human Guadia. And if the fight goes on for a long time, the debuffs really start to add up. Fully green, indeed. That's funny, I guess these interlude things are just a complete bonus, and you don't need to do them to do the Grail. I guess we'll do the Grail thing then. This is going to be annoying, because I really don't have... This account does not have a lot of units that are... Now, I could always summon my Ku, and he can solo this, but I'm going to try to not do that. I think we'll stick with what we've been doing. We'll have our support just be a throwaway that just instantly dies, and then we'll try to have this account get shit done with whatever it has. Okay, so Herc is good because I don't have a proper caster DPS, but anti-debuff is good because this boss... we don't have Medea on this account yet, actually. Medea would actually be alright here, though, because she's counterclassing and she removes debuffs. The problem would be the insta-kill. If insta-kill proc on her, that would be bad. Funnily enough, this account's Ku is still really good for this. Just because he's got guts, and he's got debuff clear, and all that kind of stuff. Hercules might not be the best pick here, just because he does not have anti-debuff and everything. Let me think. So, I don't have a unit that actually clears debuffs. Like, I don't have Sanson, I don't have Asclepius, I don't have Medea. Like, there's a few units that help with debuffs, I have none of them. That's what I was saying earlier, we're gonna have to start leveling some utility people. Because, yeah, our options are a little borked in that department. I need to save up so that once Asclepius is available, once we beat, what is it, Is it Lost Belt? Yeah, Lost Belt 4. God, we have to beat Lost Belt 4? That's a ways off, dude. That sucks. Yeah, I do have Martha, but she's not leveled. You know what? This whole account is supposed to be about, like, you know, leveling things based on what makes sense, not like not arbitrarily handicapping yourself. I really should just level Martha, right? If you're on an account like this that has the options that this account has, we don't have Asclepius and those things, then yes, I should level Martha. That would be a very smart thing to do, but I'm always in the mindset of handicapping yourself, so I always kind of ignore my goals. Some of that's also, it's kind of a mixed thing. It's not just, okay, legitimately, even if you're not handicapping yourself in any way, it just makes sense to level up a lot of the basic stuff like 100 Face and Ku and Nash and Arash and Hans, you know, everyone, David, you know, you can have loads of golds and you need to level those, right? Those are really fundamental units. And I like for instance, I have Ushi, right? But it's not like Martha doesn't take the role of Ushi at all. Like, not at all. If you level your Martha, you still need a single target nuker rider. And I don't think this account has one, right? So you'd have to level Ushi. So stuff like that. But yeah, I should level Martha. That would be very wise. Yeah, the only way I'm handicapping this account is, you know, no Waver, no Merlin, no Scatty, you know, that kind of thing. No Castoria now, obviously. Wait, does this account have Arjuna? What? I don't think it does. God, why do I have Ku Alter? God, that's so fucking obnoxious. Got that Mordred though, I'm okay with that one. Need to get her NP2, otherwise it just feels bad, but like a fucking like NP4 Fionn. I don't even know what to say about that. Okay. No anti-debuff, so we have to bring Atlas. I think we might use Ku as our damage dealer, dude. I know that's kind of whack, but I think that's the right thing to do, just because we don't have anti-debuff. I'm not sure level 71 will have the damage that we need, though. Maybe we bring Hercules, and just until he dies. Like, he'll just, you know, we'll get some, like, upfront value out of him, and then let him die, and that's that. We didn't level Caster Q yet. I'll level him at some point, though. He's a good unit to level. I want him leveled for Shimosa, but we're not even at that point yet, so. Hold on, let me check if I've got what I need to get Ku's third skill to 6. That'd be really helpful. Damn. Normally I would level this to 6 first though, because getting the cooldown reduction is a pretty big deal. Thankfully this event you can get Lancer gems, so I'll get one of those at least. Oh yeah, David doesn't, like, he's got an old sprite, but it's not as bad as Ushi's, because it's not a day 1 sprite. We could summon a story support too. Are any of these story supports actually good here? Nothing amazing. But I kind of like the idea of just summoning trash, so I'm like, I'm not getting any help when I have to just use what I've got. Just only having 1 damage CE is rough. I kind of need a cleanup unit. I think the boss stops debuffing at the end, so we'll do Herc at the end. Yeah, this might look weird to support Ku with Mozart, but I don't have a lot of other good supports anyway, and a guaranteed crit turn is still really nice. I need to be able to recover from the insta-death, though. That's what... Okay, hold on. Because somebody's going to get insta-deathed. And if Ku procs Guts, he's going to be low on health then, so I almost want to put Hans like that. Hold on, no. I mean, he'll still show up before. I want Hans to show up after the first health bar break. Alright, let's try this, see what happens. Oh, Beastly. See, here's the thing, you guys don't understand. Beastly has NP5 Fujino on all of his accounts, so he doesn't need a rate up. You don't understand. This man wants a Fujino rate up, not so he can get Fujino, but so they will buff Fujino. So because they're gonna be all like, oh guys, we want to incentivize people to roll for Fujino, so we're gonna buffer, right? That's what he's after. It's the big brain plays, guys. Alright, I don't want to remove the debuffs yet. I can't unironically using Ku's DPS here though. I mean, for some people, yeah, but for a lot of people, no. Like, they do this all the time. When they rate up an old character, they give them a costume, or they buff them, or they give them an animation update. You know, they do things to incentivize it. Because it's not like every person on the planet is just sold. I'm like, oh, I want, you know, Fujino is so worth it. There's a lot of people out there that think Fujino's bad. We call those people idiots, but, I mean, they exist. And you have people on the fence, and, you know, all kinds of things. So there's a lot of incentive for them to buffer. Okay, next turn is a really good turn to remove debuffs. Well, this would not be a bad turn to do the crit thing. Now we'll wait. This turn kind of sucks then. You know, I think I should have focused more normal card damage there. Because at this point, we don't want to NP the first health bar. Doesn't make any sense. Did you not triple attack David? What are you doing there, champ? Okay, now we remove the debuffs. Unless Ku has no cards, which, oh look, he has no cards. Fuck, that's really bad. Yeah, we gotta wait again. Ugh, that's not good. That's just shit luck, dude, like the way the deck's been spread. I probably should have removed him there anyway, though, just because like the dots really getting to me. I think I waited too long. I don't know, maybe I should have focused on NP gain there, I'm not too sure. Yeah, I could have done the art card third place, that was massive overkill. You fuck! So I didn't know if it applied instant death to the whole team or not, but it just picks one. But it can fail, it's like it's just a chance insta death. So Ku's Guts was kind of wasted there, feels bad. I really wanted Hans to show up next turn. This is not ideal. Oh fuck, I don't have his... That's right, I haven't done his upgrade. I think I can do it, I just haven't, because I think he's final ascended now.
もう締め切りか。仕方ない。いい時代だ。資料集めにはことかかん。損なうたびに思い出すがいい。メルヘン・マイネス・レーベンス。
God, his voice is just god tier, dude. Well, you know, Mozart, it was nice knowing you. Could you hit Ku once? That was way too soon for her, oh god. This hand! Jesus Christ, game! What really hurt this was just David getting insta-killed. That was quite bad. You know what? I shouldn't have done that. Cause well, yeah, I think we do this. Oh, that's right. We have the damage CE. Of course, we're gonna break there. C tiers for Canis, yeah, obviously. Let's see. That's 0 damage, though. I guess that defense thing was for a set amount of hits. So I should not have done the MP first like that. I'd like to point out that the word simp has lost absolutely all meaning, at least on Twitch. And some of that's because, like, large Twitch chats are basically a group of chimpanzees, but, like, it's, you know, it's pretty dumb at this point. Like, how literally you can have any guy just say any nice thing about someone that happens to be female, and now you're a simp, right? And it's just, it's dumb. Like, I get the reason for the, like, the original meaning of it. I get it, especially, like, when you've got, like, you know... How do you put it, you know, just titty streamers, right? So it's like... But it has completely lost all meaning. It's used in the stupidest fucking ways ever now. Like, wow, you showed, you know, basic manners. Wow, you're a simp. Well, that worked out. It's like Ku good or something. Because, you know, yeah, there are people that are like, you know, white knighting and just being suck-ups and blah, 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 blah. But, like, that, like, Jesus, it's not the entirety of the human population. I'm not trying to insult anyone specifically, but I do feel like large streams, like the majority of their chat is just it's just spurgs, right? It's just like a bunch of chimpanzees. You know, it's just all simp, lol, streamer doesn't know, kappa. It's just that's all it is, right? And it's just like, Jesus Christ, how are you supposed to like have a proper stream these days? But yeah, when you get really big chats, that's just kind of what it evolves into. So. Alright, well we got our Grail, so that's good. Do you not even need to do those interludes to beat all the missions? What is it even for then? I guess it's just free SQ. Alright, are we allowed to do the challenge quests? I'm guessing no. Yeah, we're not. I'm pretty sure you have to beat Solomon, which, you know, we're literally on, but feels bad, man. I wanted the lore! We're actually gonna need it. Now, we'll beat Solomon later, because like I said, I need to record, like, Achilles solo, I need to record 100 phase solo, and then I want to, like, do chats units against Guadia. I want to use, like, Fujino against Guadia and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to rush it. Now, I'm not going to keep Guadia around forever, because I do want to progress this account, obviously, but, like, one lore is not really enough to get me to want to, you know, blow up Guadia ahead of schedule, especially when I'm going to have a lot of golds I can burn to just, you know, buy lores if I need them. We are going to need lores, though. This is only the second event that this account has ever done. It's at the Fate Requiem event, and now this event. That's it. That's all this account's ever done. That's like all the farming it's done, so... It's not exactly in a great place when it comes to, lores and such. You know, I actually think VR Mash can solo Guadia. Like, everyone's always making fun of VR Mash, but now that she has Black Barrel, I'm pretty sure she could just blow him the fuck up. Because she gets the bonus of being Bond 10 when she's at Bond 5. Alright, last time we soloed this with Zigguard, which that was actually kind of hard, but now we can just do whatever the hell we want, so let's see. Well, we want to bring Hercules just because we need the bond. I mean, people just get their NP quick. Yeah, if we had story replay, I'd already have beaten Guadia. I'd have just done it right away. Are we allowed to put Zigguard in the back? Because, man, he doesn't benefit the team in terms of NP gain. And, yeah, we are. Okay, that's good. Let's see how Hercules does here. There's really no point in doing this, because I think getting a quicker NP is better, but I kind of want to see how our boy does. It should be fine. Chad, I'm just glad I can think coherently today. It's nice. I just hope I can get good sleep tonight and, you know, start feeling normal again. I am worried, though, because, like, last night was a real struggle. Like, although I was able to get some degree of normal sleep, I literally had to dedicate, like, over 13 hours to it. And, you know, half of the night I was unable to sleep. It was basically like I'd start going to sleep and then instantly stop breathing and wake up. And so it took a long time to actually get any sleep. So I'm worried that tonight might go badly and I'll start being super sleep deprived again. But we'll see. If I can get one more night of good sleep, I think I'll feel pretty normal again. But yeah, until I can get this allergy thing under control, this is going to be a problem for a while. And I would see a doctor to get like a breathing assistance machine or something, but there's like no way to see a doctor quickly right now where I live because coronavirus is super bad here. Like, the wait time is pretty extreme. Because you have to see a specialist, so. Yeah, sleep apnea sucks. I'm lucky / unlucky because from like I've talked to some doctors and stuff like over the phone and whatnot, and first of all, normally sleep apnea is from things that you don't have a lot of control over, like it's over one being overweight, which that you can have some control over, but it's, you can't like lose weight quickly. But normally sleep apnea is from being overweight, or you just have a very unlucky like. The way your face, your internals in your face are made, and like you have blockages in bad places, and like you get tonsils and things like that, right? And so normally you'd have to have surgery. Like a lot of times you have sleep apnea, your options are either lose weight or have surgery to literally remove whatever's giving you issues breathing. Which then there's a long recovery period, and a lot of the surgeries you have to have for sleep apnea are awful. I mean, like if they're super invasive surgeries, and you will feel unbearably bad for like a month, right? Like they're really fucked. If you have sleep apnea from allergies, you really ultimately just need to get your allergies under control, right? On the flip side, though, is it can come on out of nowhere. Your allergies don't really go away. So there's a lot of problems. And in my case specifically, and I've known this for I've known this my whole life because I had to go to doctors about this. I've seen a lot of doctors about my allergies just separate, not because of sleep apnea, but just because I have a lot of sinus issues and stuff. And basically, I just have really fucked up sinuses that are like really small, and so like my sinus pathways and stuff can get blocked at the drop of a hat. Like it takes nothing to make it where I can't breathe. And so it's a problem. It's like, so if I'm having basically any major allergy problems, this can happen, and there's not a lot I can do about it. But on the flip side is like I don't have to have these horrible surgeries that a lot of other people would have to have. I don't have to lose weight or anything like that. But yeah, it can kind of just come out of nowhere, which kind of sucks. There actually is a surgery I can get that can potentially help my sinuses, and I've had the option for doing it for years, but I never have because it just sounds awful. Like I really do hate having such messed up sinuses, but it's like a really invasive surgery, and it may not even, it doesn't always help people, and yeah, I don't know, I'm not really a fan, so, but we'll see. Man, I subbed. I don't have Bonten Ongra on any account, man. You can get sleep apnea diagnosed by getting like a kit that you can take home, because there's something else that the doctor I talked to told me. It's like, because I most likely have it from allergies, it's incredibly difficult to get it diagnosed by just going to a doctor, right? Because like whatever's activating my allergies might just be like dust in my home, or it might be like flowers from my neighbors. It might be like, so if I go to a hospital or a doctor's office, there's a pretty good chance my allergies aren't going to be bothering me, right? And so then your sleep would be normal, right? So if you go to like have a sleep study done and it's from allergies, it's very difficult to actually confirm what's going on, because there's no guarantee your allergies are actually going to act up then, because my allergies don't act up every night here, right? So like if I did one test on one night, there's no guarantee that's going to be a night that it's a problem. So I'm probably going to have to like get a take-home test that you can do over and over and over again. And then so you can look at the data for the times that I do have allergy problems and all this nonsense. But yeah, I'm just not bothering right now because it's a lot of time, money, and effort, and with like the coronavirus and everything, there's no point. And like I know I have sleep apnea from allergies. It's obvious. Like it's not like I kind of have the symptoms. I have every fucking symptom. It's like incredibly obvious. So it's like right now I'm just trying to get my allergies under control, because that's obviously the problem. Because it's something new. I've been dealing with this kind of thing for my whole life, so. Yeah, I've talked to some people that have had the surgery, and it sounds awful, dude. It sounds fucking awful. But sometimes it's completely necessary and you have no choice. Yeah, basically that's pretty much what I'd have to do, is like they can basically try to expand your sinuses. Yeah, it's what basically said is what I've heard over and over again. It's like in the short term it's unbearable, but in the long term it's normally better. And I have such problems with my sinuses. I might have to do it. Well, I don't know. We'll see. It's not something I want to do, but like as I get older, I'm probably gonna have to do it, because it's not gonna get better. It's gonna get worse And as you get older, you can't cope with like these problems as well. I've technically been sleeping plenty. It's just, you know, the way sleep apnea works is you're not getting deep sleep, and you keep waking up because you're not breathing, and then so your brain is just not recouping, and it's fucked. But like I said, last night I was able to get a decent amount of sleep, and the day before I got a really good nap, so I'm starting to feel better. Because that's why I haven't streamed for many days, because yeah, not getting REM sleep. I literally could not stream over the last like 3 or 4 days. Like I couldn't, like I was hallucinating and shit, and it was pretty fucked. To do that, and that, okay. I want this to be 10 so bad, but we got a ways to go. But I've been doing a lot to try to get my allergies under control. Like I said, I got the air purifier, I've been trying to really stay on top of dusting and all that kind of stuff, so. Oh yeah, I didn't even consider streaming over those days. I was like, nope. First of all, it would have been a horrible stream, because like I said, I was like, you know, whacked out of my brain, because when you're not sleeping properly, your brain's like not functioning correctly, and so that was a mess. But yeah, I did not even consider it. I honestly very much thought about not streaming today, but I'm well enough today. Like I still don't feel great, and like my head feels kind of weird and stuff, but like I can do it. It's not a big deal. Like this, and I'm relaxing, right? I'm not stressed out. That's why I'm not streaming Epic 7 though, because that's going to be backseating the game. So yeah, I mean day one NPs all look terrible. So there are no day one NPs that look good. There's some that look like reasonable, I guess, but yeah, there's definitely some that look reasonable. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to use guts or not. I guess it's fine. He'll probably die this turn, so he'd need it for next turn. Yep, what 23 just said, it's like that's all the Epic 7 community is, dude. It's like, why aren't you using this? It's like, why aren't you being efficient and blah 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 blah. It's like all they care about. It's like, fuck having fun. But it's because that's the way that game's designed. Like with FGO, there's some of that in FGO, but not that much. FGO, it's very easy to have like a sandbox. And also, there's just, okay, so the NA community especially has kind of like been influenced by like kind of what was already there from JP and everything. And it pretty, all the like YouTubers and stuff, like in the early days of FGO before, because like now there's like 1 million FGO YouTubers, but in the early days there was like none really, there was like 2. And just over time, it's kind of focused a lot on, you know, soloing or doing, you know, challenge quests with units that you like, you know, doing memes. It's always had a lot of that. And yeah, there's been like 3-turning and farming and stuff too, but there's always been a healthy dose of like, you know, grailing units because you like them, and then trying to use that unit in a challenge quest because you like them, or then trying to solo just cuz, or trying to do 1 to 3 stars just cuz, or trying to do like, you know, an art meme with like Vlad, right? You know, shit like that, right? That's always been part of the FGO community. So when people do stuff like that, when you watch someone like the Phantom guy, when he's streaming, no one's like, why are you using Phantom? You know, this is not good, you know, AP per hour ratio for farming the event currency, right? No one's gonna say that because they so obviously look like a fucking idiot if they do, right? Where Epic 7's not like that. You know, it's kind of had, you know, from the get-go, you know, it had a lot of like power gaming people in their community from the start. Gosh, games were already more established when Epic 7 was made. You know, so a lot of people kind of jumped on the bandwagon and all that kind of stuff. And it's been about efficiency from the get-go. And so, you know, it's all it is, right? It literally is all it is. Dude, I remember when FGO was JP only, you know, it had no NA counterpart and all that, so it was just in Japan. And like, so there were in terms of like YouTube content, especially being made by people that could speak English, there was like I don't know, 3, maybe 4 people. Like there was literally no one making FGO content that spoke English. There was a couple of people. There was literally like 4 or 5, right? Like that was it. And no offense to any of them, but at the time, they did not do a very good job with like the editing and stuff, right? It was just like the loading screens were there, and it wasn't like anything interesting. It was mostly just like Waver and Merlin killing everything, stuff like that. And so it was I remember just being like, man, I could do like the stuff that I did for Vandictus for this game, and like that'd be something unique and different. So fuck it. So that's the whole reason like I actually got somewhere. There's no one else was doing anything. And my competition was pretty sad at the beginning. Like now there's like a million people doing all kinds of things. But yeah, oh my god, in the early days it was pretty silly. Let me think. Can't do much this turn. I honestly don't understand people that like just like only watching rolling streams, because I care about the gameplay so much more than the unlocking stuff. I only like watching rolling streams for people that I know, because I'm invested in what they get and what they don't get, and like how they feel about units and stuff. Like if Cairo rolls, I'm super interested, right? I really want to see like what he gets with the SQ that he has saved up and stuff like that, right? Or like if it was Sharky rolls or Rex rolls, like or just like I talk to those people and I know those people, so I'm interested in what they get, right? So I care. But some random guy I don't care about, I literally don't care. I don't care, right? I'm not invested or interested. I don't wish them ill. I'm not like, oh, I hope that guy doesn't get what he wants. It's not that or anything. It's just like it's not interesting to me. But like I am interested in watching people that I know. Like that I get. But it's not because like I'm like it's not about like seeing salt or not salt. It's just kind of exciting. I want to know what Cairo happens to get, because I'm going to see Cairo using that stuff from that point on, right? It affects the things that he can do and the units that he grails and the units he doesn't grail and what he's going to do in challenge quests, and so it's like an important thing. So like when Beastly gets stuff, I'm interested in what he gets and what he decides to roll on and what he's interested in, right? Because like Beastly, I've known Beastly long enough, I can kind of see the kind of units that he generally guns for and stuff, right? So it's interesting, right? But yeah, some random guy I don't know, I've never really cared about watching them roll, because if I'm not gonna if I'm not watching their stuff normally, it doesn't matter what the unlock. It doesn't like, it's not exciting for me. Because yeah, I know a lot of people that's like all they watch. Like all they watch is the gacha stuff. I don't get it. It's like a gambling thing, I guess. But yeah, I care way more about like everything else. I'm pretty sure I do have MP5 Summer Kiara, but spread over multiple accounts. Because I just kept getting her. And mostly with just summon tickets. It was fucking bullshit. But no single account has her that many times. Thankfully. I would rather David live. But is it worth giving him guts? Because he could still die after. Fuck it, we'll try. I did get Brunhilde on my old account, but I did not on my main, but I got Kiara again, because, 5 summon tickets, of course you get fucking Kiara again. Literally 5 summon tickets, and I got Kiara again, and no Brunhilde. Like, dude, does anyone remember? How many summon tickets did I have? I want to say I had like 57 or some shit, and then I got some from like my login, and then I got to 5 from the shop resetting, and then my ult account had a chunk too. Like, it's so stupid. And I got loads of 4 stars. It's not like I didn't get 4 stars. I got loads of 4 stars, just none of them were the rate up. It was over 80 between the 2 accounts. But that's a chunk of those were for my ult account, right? I was trying to figure out exactly how many my main account got. Because my ult account did technically get Brunhilde and within summon tickets, but my main had even more summon tickets and did not. And I'm pretty sure she's dead here. Should have swapped those cards around. Yeah, you can ask for friends on the Discord, like the general, that's fine. I do that all the time. I'm like, guys, does anybody have like a Grail Deer mid? I always ask for incredibly random shit like that. Rex, what are you doing, Rex? You're trying to send people away from our Discord? I see how it is. You know, Rex, some people like a sense of community, thank you. But no, just shoo them away, Rex. Hold on, I'm gonna be real quick. I need to grab water. Alright, I'm back. Yeah, I pretty much, this is just me personally, but I pretty much never look for friends anywhere outside of like my stream or my actual friends, like from real life or from Discord and stuff, because you know, you can communicate with them a lot easier and stuff. And it's just more, I don't know, it's more fun that way. To have like actually know who the fuck units you're using. And you can like ask them, you know, very easily to, you know, equip a certain craft essence or whatever. It's nice. Alright, what do we got left here? I think we already did the one where you have preset units. This is from Orcs Must Die. Just generic battle theme. If you like this song, I would recommend just checking out the soundtrack in general. It has a lot of songs similar to this, so. Oh, no, that's preset theme too. I was thinking the Suzuka Gozen one, but yeah, that one I think we did already do. Yeah, we have a lot of people that slot level 1 George, thankfully. I mean, hell, I do. Oh, it's just this guy. Murder time! Shane, you can't use your Mystic Code. I honestly, I haven't looked into the story of this event, but I legitimately think the zombie problem in this event is because of Asclepius. I just, because, you know, that's his thing in like Greek mythology, was bringing back the dead. So I really do think the zombie problem in this event was because of Asclepius. I again, haven't read a damn thing, so I have no idea, but I definitely feel like that's what's going on. Now, I don't think they're gonna add an SSR version of Angra at all. Like, no way. Seems very unlikely. I think the buff he got from getting Bond 10 is probably the only buff he'll get. He might buff one of his skills or something randomly. Who knows? But I wouldn't really expect it. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see more of Angra, unfortunately. I mean, I like Angra, he's awesome. No, I don't know, maybe if they ever did a Fate Hollow collab, maybe they'd buff him then. But probably just an animation update, to be honest. Let's see. Especially because we're fighting him right now, I think he's the culprit. I think, you know what? I think he summons a zombie here if he lives long enough. I'm gonna go not for the NP. We're gonna go for normal card damage, I think. I think you win either way. I have no idea why MHX is in this event, but I think it's specific to this interlude. A lot of the interludes are like kind of these kind of mini like side stories that are kind of somewhat self-contained. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if he lives this turn, he summons a zombie. So let's see if we can kill him. Let's go crits. Come on. Damn it. Yep, there it is. We were really close to, you know what sucks is if we had gone for NP, we could kill them both this turn. We could have our NP and we could kill one and kill the other. That is unfortunate. Just out of curiosity, I wonder if he summons another one. What? I get my NP and he seals me. What a bastard. Well, no follow-up zombie. Yeah, I could see them doing a damn load campaign soon. I haven't done one in a while. And I don't know, maybe we'll get to go to the Black Dot. Get some main story for God's sakes. I know, dude, they get... So, something Cairo said about FGO in his stream the other day, which I agree with for the most part, is just FGO never changes. They don't try anything. They don't add anything. It's just the same style of events, you know, rehashed and reskinned over and over again, and they get the challenge quest at the end, and blah, 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 right? It's really boring, right? Like, there's a lot of aspects to FGO that's really boring, because it's so... They don't ever add new game modes. They don't do new things. They don't try anything. But... where I think FGO does do well, and I think Cairo would agree with me. I wish he was here so he could say, but I'd imagine he'd agree with me on this. When they add new main story, it's awesome, right? Like every time they add new main story to FGO, it's really awesome. Like Lost Belt 5 was awesome, right? That's when they do stuff really worthwhile, and it just they do it so rarely now, right? Like Even Lost Belt 5-1 was fine. Obviously, Lost Belt 5-2 was better, but it was still fun. You know, it was still cool, and the story was really interesting. But yeah, Lost Belt 5-2 was way better. Anyway, but you know, the main story is like when they really, you know, it's easy to have fun with the game, lots of content, lots of fun boss fights, and you know, just the story and the new characters and everything. You know, that's you know really good. It's just. They've been really slow about it over these last 2 years. They've been really slow about it. Because yeah, dude, I had more fun with Lost Belt 5 Part 2 than I've ever had in this game. Like, I had so much fun there. That was just absolutely amazing. But yeah, they need to do better, man. Like, I mean, all these other games are doing... Fucking, I heard Arc Knights added, like, a new game mode where it's like a roguelite. It's like a little side thing for fun, and it's like a roguelite. And I'm like, Why the fuck can't we get shit like that? You know, they're always adding boss rush modes and you know, all kinds of shit, and we just still like, yeah, you want another event that's like last 2 weeks and it's the same shit you've done a million times, and you get event currency to buy from the shop again. Like, it's just every time anything, like, I really get annoyed with this with DW. This truly gets my jimmies in a jam, right? Like, they have no balls, dude. They have no fucking balls. Anytime they try to do something different, it's a joke. It's a lie. They do like it's just an event. So first of all, they're trying to be like, oh, look how different this is, but it's just a time limited event thing, and it's just skin deep. Other than like Setsubun, they never do anything that actually matters, right? They jump through hoops to make an event appear as though it's so different, guys. Like, look at this event. Oh, it's got day and night cycles. It doesn't matter. It means nothing, right? Like, it's just the same shit. This is just another mission event. This is literally just another mission event like every other mission event, right? Like, it's just the same thing, right? The day and night thing is just fluff. It's there to seem like you're doing something different, but it's exactly the same, right? Like, it doesn't change. Right, that's the only event I can think of where DW actually did something different was Setsubun. And, you know, again, it was just, you know, it was a one-time thing. It's not like a permanent game mode or anything. It's like they're scared to try anything, right? So they just do the same thing over and over again. It's just mission events and you know, generic shop clearing events and point ladder events, and then main story, you know, like maybe twice a year, maybe. Right, it's silly, right? It's just silly, and especially because it's not like everyone in DW sucks. It's obviously not the case. I mean, like, whoever designs their challenge quest does a great job. Even when the challenge quests are a bit easy, or even if they're overtuned, like the Shadow Knight Camelot thing, they're still cool, right? Like, the gimmicks and stuff are always unique and fitting, and I've always said I feel like the people that design the challenge quests find the perfect balance of bringing back boss fights. Like, oh, this boss fight's kind of similar to this other boss fight. It's like, oh, this is like an AoE one team-based one, right? Or this one's like, oh, the enemy has lots of damage reduction and stuff. They find the right balance of bringing back boss fights that are similar to boss fights we've already fought, and then also adding new ones, right? Because it's nice, like, oh, you know, but this is kind of one of those bosses, so these kind of units are good. Or like, oh, buff removal guys are good for this kind of fight, right? So you have a nice healthy dose of like boss fights that are somewhat similar to other boss fights, but still, you know, like, oh, it's a different class, and oh, but it's got this gimmick instead, and that kind of thing, right? And then also adding in new boss fights that are like nothing we've ever seen. They do that, you know, it's really impressive, right? Really hats off to them in that department. But yeah, I'm so annoyed with how it's just it's a limited time event after limited time event that's just super grindy and is nothing, you know, it's all surface level, you know, gimmicks. It's gimmicks. Like, okay, a lot of people use, and me included, a lot of people use the word gimmick for something that's not really a gimmick. You know, a gimmick is basically something that's like skin deep, and it's like, it's trying to seem like, oh, look how, you know, wacky this is. It's kind of like you make a new console that comes with like a clown nose you can, you know, squeeze to make a beeping noise. It's like, yeah, that's gonna make the PS Vita Deluxe really worthwhile, guys. You got a clown nose on. Yeah, that's a gimmick, right? It doesn't mean anything, right? It's like trying to appear like it's something, but it's not. That you honk, yep. That's FGO, man. Like, when it comes to events, they do all these stupid gimmicks that don't have any real meaningful impact, right? It's just like, it's like them trying to sell you on the fantasy of something, but not actually have any gameplay implications, right? I'm really tired of that. Especially when you have all these other games doing interesting stuff. You know, like even Epic 7, for God's sakes, adds lots of legitimate game modes that are like, you know, you got the Labyrinth, you got the Boss Rush mode, you know, you got the 2 challenge towers, and you know, it's like they do things, they try things. And they got a new game plus mode, for crying out loud. You know, Arc Knights is over there, you know, throwing the kitchen sink at everything, right? And then we're over here like, yeah, we got another mission event. I know I complain about this a lot, but like, it's honestly baffling to me. I don't even understand how it's like this. I legit, I don't understand how it's like this, right? Like, where the game's been out this long and it's this successful, and they're this boring. They're so undaring, right? Like, I don't understand. I don't know how you have an IP this successful and this big, and a game that lasts this long, and you're like, yeah, we're never gonna add a new game mode. I don't understand that. I do not understand that. I don't understand why we don't have such basic things like story replay mode. I cannot rationalize it. I honestly can't. The only rationalization I have is that either Aniplex is stupid, and they won't let DW do stuff, or they're just too scared to rock the boat, right? Or they're lazy, right? And like Aniplex doesn't keep track of these things, and like DW themselves is just fulfilling their contract, and that's that, right? Like it's just weird, because like I don't want to say the game is passionless, because it's not. Like the artists I mean, good God, the artists go above and beyond, and the passion is like so obviously there, and not only that, but like, you know, you've got you know, a lot of the artists will do art for FGO that they're not even paid for, right? You'll have they'll keep drawing the characters they were paid to draw just cause, right? And they do a really good job. The artists do great, and like the writing. Now in the early days the writing was trash, but you know nowadays the writing is a lot better, and it doesn't feel phoned in at all. Sometimes it feels a bit rushed, but it certainly doesn't feel phoned in. So like the writing is there, the character design is there, and whoever is in charge of the challenge quest. Seriously, you cannot tell me whoever designed the Zeet boss fight was phoning it in. That was not phoning it in, right? The passion is there, like Jesus Christ. I'm actually impressed with how much like passion is in the boss design for this game. I'm truly like, wow. Like whoever, you know, whoever person or persons that is in charge of that, I'm impressed, like for real. But when it comes to like the core gameplay stuff and like, you know, the business decisions and stuff, it feels very phoned in. It feels incredibly phoned in. So in terms of pure mechanics, the Zeus fight is not my favorite fight, but I will say it is my favorite boss fight because there's more to a good boss fight than just the mechanics. You know, you got the music, you got the build-up, the story, you know, the voice acting, and then yes, the mechanics definitely matter. And I would say the mechanics are very good in it, and they're, you know, one of a kind, super unique. There's I will say, I think a lot of people agree with this. There's a bit more RNG in the Zeet fight than I might like. You can definitely, you know, manipulate it. If you make a good team, you know, you can definitely deal with it. But there's a little bit there's a little bit of RNG in that fight that I think is a bit excessive. I think it's a bit excessive, but it's still a really well designed fight that's really fun. And yeah, mechanically it's not quite my favorite. It's up there. If I was gonna like rate boss fights on pure mechanics, it would definitely make like the top 7 or so. Like it's gonna be pretty high. So yeah, getting Hans' buff here. Figure I'd get that out of the way. I don't know if that's actually the best NP gain for him because his buster hit count was only 1. So it might be better to put Art in 3rd place. It's hard to say. I don't know though. Applying to the extra attack does add up. Yeah, I would say, like, you know, the Zeus fight is definitely designed well enough, and then it has the music to build up and the story and everything. So overall, it's definitely my favorite boss fight. But in pure, I haven't been able to make up my mind on what my favorite fight is in terms of pure mechanics. Honestly, to this day, the Da Vinci fight is really up there. From Neurofest 2, I really like that one. Now, it's hard for me to like personally like that one as much, just because I think it was slightly overtuned for the time. Like the gimmicks were fine. The gimmicks were great, and it actually had almost no RNG. And like when bad RNG happened, you could like change your strategy to compensate. Like you might attack, you know, Da Vinci more to lower her NP gauge until you're ready, things like that. And you have to balance that out with like not breaking her health bar too quickly and stuff. Right, like great, seriously, mechanically amazing fight, but I do think it was slightly overtuned to where it wasn't exactly reasonable to do with like 1 to 3 stars. Now, if you're willing to use stuff, you know, stronger than that, no problem. But it was slightly overtuned if you wanted to do 1 to 3 star stuff. But mechanically, it was awesome, and you can just, you know, throw in a few characters that aren't 1 to 3 star, and it's not a big deal. But yeah, that was a really good one. I also really like, there's a lot though. I mean, I really like the Romulus one from Gilfest 2. Like, that one was not nearly as hard, but it was just really fun. God, that fight was just really fun because you had a lot of thinking to do, and there were just so many ways to approach it. I like the Leonidas fight a lot from Guildfest 1. Let me think. There's so many bosses now, it's hard to keep up with them all. I really like the Leonidas one because it was basically the Gramps one, but balanced properly, right? So that made it really fun. It was like the Gramps one, but done right. So that one was really good. But man, there's been so many challenge quests now, man. So I think one of these days I need to go back and just like look through all my challenge quest videos and really think about it. Because off the top of my head, it's those, but I feel like I'm forgetting some really good ones. Oh, and I really like the Shiki one from the K&K rerun, where you like Void Shiki. Summer 3 was pretty good, but that's more of a good sandbox. It wasn't like it wasn't anything special, right? It was literally just a straightforward AoE challenge quest, but the stat requirement was fairly high. So you needed to kind of, squeeze every bit of value out of your team as you could, right? But it's nothing groundbreaking, right? Like it's certainly like especially if you're doing budgety stuff, it demands a lot from you just because the stat requirement is really fucking high. But again, there's no like crazy gimmicks. Like there are certain fights, like Queen of Sheba, there's a good fight. There is no boss fight like the Queen of Sheba boss fight. That doesn't even feel like FGO, right? Like the boss gimmicks there are so off the wall. You're doing something so specific. The decision making you're making, like I don't know how to describe this, but it's like generally you're dealing with like decision making about like survivability versus damage, and then NP gain versus damage, and then like death manipulation and that's a big part of like the decision making you're making, and then like when to break a health bar and stuff like that. But like the Izo fight and the Queen of Sheba fight, it's none of that. It's all about, okay, when am I gonna pay off my debt? Like what? like it's like your whole thought process is completely different, right? Like what you're thinking about in the Queen of Sheba fight is so specific to that fight. There is literally no other fight like that, and it's awesome. I really do like that fight. That one was really enjoyable, and the Izo one. Like those are such unique fights, and they do have aspects of like needing to worry about damage and NP gain and those kinds of things, but it's way more about like dealing with like the way your cards, like the Izo fight, for example. So for those who don't know, let me just explain this a little bit. In the Izo fight, whatever card you hit the boss with last, he will get resistance to, right? So let's say your first card is a Buster attack. So bam, you hit him with a Buster card. He now has Buster resistance. Okay, but then let's say the next attack in the chain was a Quick card. Okay, now he doesn't have Buster resistance anymore, but now he has Quick resistance, right? And then if I remember correctly, it was like whatever you hit him with last, he did a specific thing. Like, I can't remember exactly what everything was, but it was like, if you hit him with a Quick card last, I think maybe he would stun somebody. If you hit him with an Art card last, he would drain your stars. If you hit him with a Buster card last, he did something terrible, but I don't remember what it was. I remember hitting him with the Buster card last was really bad, though. But like, whatever card you hit him with, the final one, the boss then would activate a certain gimmick, right? So like, every turn, the boss would do something different based on what your final card was. And then you couldn't do the same cards in a row often, because if you did triple Buster, it would suck. Right? Okay, Buster was done. Yeah, I can't remember. It's been a long time. But like, so if you did a Buster chain, the first Buster would hit him, but now he has Buster resist, so the next two Busters would kind of suck, right? But you could do like Buster, and then you get Buster resist, and then you do Art, and then you could do Buster again, right? You could do, because then the Art would take off the Buster resist, right? And it was just interesting, because on some turns you wouldn't care if you got stunned, because maybe it just didn't matter, or maybe you have debuff immunity, or maybe it was the final turn. So like, sometimes it's okay to do like Buster, Art, Buster, right? Or NP something and then Buster, right? But on most turns you wouldn't want to do that. You'd want to end, I think normally you wanted to end with Art, because I think the star drain was like the least bad. Oh yeah, Quick was like crit up, yeah, something like that. And it was like permanent or something. But yeah, so it was a fight. That was a fight where like what you're deciding to do and like the chains you're deciding to pick and stuff were so tailored to the fight, because like, oh hey, I want to hit with my Buster NP, but I need to do this one card first, but then I'll have Buster resistance, so I need to do this other card to get rid of the Buster resistance, then do my Buster NP. You just have weird shit like that. Or like Art. Like Art, I remember was a really weird one too, because you wanted the Art to be the final hit a lot of the time, so But yeah, and I don't remember everything about the Shiba fight because it's been a long time, but it was basically like she would give you buffs, but then you would like go in debt, right? So these buffs would make you better. You know, they'd give you like quick up or MP gain up or attack up, or you know, they would absolutely help you. But then if you didn't like do something specific, you would then get like a debuff or some shit. Or it was either that or you were debuffed until you did something specific. I'm pretty sure it was like you got a buff, and if you didn't do a certain action, then you would get a debuff for a while. It was like debt. She'd basically like giving you loans, and you had to pay them off. And so, my God, you had to do weird stuff. Because it'd be stuff like you need to like just have this unit do some kind of action that would give them NP gain, even if it's like, you know, a Buster card or like the art card bonus or some bullshit, right? It wasn't about like being efficient. It was just about activating the thing, basically. Like just it was pretty wild. And then there was like, and then no, I remember Shiba has shields. That's what it is. And like the only thing I just said was true, but it was like she had shields, so you do like no damage to her. So you had to pay off these debts, and every time you paid off a debt, she would lose a shield, and then you could start doing damage to her, right? So not only would, if you didn't pay off your debts, would you not, you'd get like you wouldn't like get the, you get like the debuffs or something, but then you wouldn't be getting rid of her shields, right? And so there wasn't any point in like building up NPs and NPing her in the face and stuff if you hadn't gotten through her shields and stuff yet. Yeah, oh man, that's a good fight, man. I really like that one. Kairos Han's got NP damage down, so yeah, you don't worry too much about that one. But yeah, those are some good fights, and like the Shiba one was just good because sometimes they make boss fights that have really good gimmicks, but the stat requirement's actually too low, and so they're very easy to trivialize. LOL, I summoned Kualter, or LOL, I have Merlin, or whatever. No, yeah, you could just like not use those things, and that's what I generally do. But like, so a lot of people though don't get to interact with those gimmicks in an interesting way, which is why I like to handicap myself. Because a lot of times I see boss fights, I'm like, oh, these are really interesting gimmicks, but the boss doesn't have a lot of health, so I'm just going to handicap the shit out of myself, right? But like Queen of Sheba just struck that balance where, you know, there was definitely a stat requirement that was there, that was kind of tough and everything, but it was mostly about dealing with the gimmicks properly. But it was hard enough that you couldn't trivialize it too easy, but it wasn't so hard that it was unreasonable, right? Like for low stars. So it's just, that I really like boss fights like that. Now that I think about it, honestly, Queen of Sheba is actually really high on my list for some of the best design bosses that they've done. Honestly, Rice Man is soloable with basically every Lancer in the entire game. It's harder with some than others. And so what I like about that fight, and it actually kind of makes me sad because the first video I ever made of it, I did not understand the bosses as well as later. And so, although I beat it, I did not actually play it in the best way possible. And so, like, more RNG was there than was needed, where if you play better, you can remove a lot more of the RNG than I did. And since then, I've done that fight a lot better. But I never made another coup video of it because I already had one. But I have since been able to use coup like much more efficiently in that fight. So that always kind of made me sad. But yeah, even Gareth, even a non-grailed Gareth, who's one of the weakest Lancers in terms of soloing, can do it. I will say Baldy has a hard time soloing it. He can do it, but it's just Baldy just doesn't work well for that fight. It's much harder for him than most. And I doubt Benkei could do it. Although Benkei might be able to do it at level 100. Maybe. But a non-grailed Benkei, no way. That's the one Lancer that I don't think can do it. But basically, everybody else can do it. Some of them require a bit more RNG than others, but a lot of them don't even require RNG. But it's fun, because you don't autopilot. That's the thing. You don't just autopilot, do typical, get value out of your unit gameplay and win. You have to actually play around the gimmicks dramatically, right? Like, you have to very much think about what you're doing. But basically, everybody can do it, so it's pretty fun. Yeah, now that I've thought about this, Baldy is basically tied for the worst 3-star Lancer, in my opinion. I think he's tied with Hector. Now, there are circumstances where he's better than the Lancers that I would rate above him. Because he does have some scaling with, you know, good supports, and then RNG, and certain fights, you know, really benefit units like him that don't do... Because sometimes NP damage gets, like, you know, wrecked. Some fights are not about NP damage, they're about normal card damage, and oh my god, does he excel in fights like that. But yeah, from a free-to-play perspective, for someone that's not a whale, I would say Baldy is tied for the worst 3-star Lancer. Not the worst 1 to 3-star Lancer. He's definitely better than some of the bronze Lancers, you know, like Benkei. But yeah, now I still think he's usable, even though I'd say he's the worst, tied for the worst 3-star Lancer. I think he's still usable. He's not low tier. He's still like totally usable. But yeah, from a free-to-play perspective, I think he's definitely tied for the worst. And it's apples and oranges, and if he's going to be better than, like... Because, like, you know, sometimes he's absolutely better than, like, Romulus. But I think Romulus is more useful to more players more often than Baldy is. Even though I think Baldy sometimes scales better than Romulus, it's just you don't need him. Where sometimes you might actually have uses of someone like Romulus, because he's AoE, and he's fairly hard-hitting, and he's kind of tanky, and he can give someone else guts, and things like that. Alright, what are we doing here? Second best 3-star Lancer? I mean, it's probably Protoku off the top of my head, unless I'm forgetting somebody, even though he's way behind. But like Dearmid and Protoku and Taiga, they're, you know, here let's think about this here. I mean, look at what I've got, all of them. I think, sometimes off the top of my head, I kind of forget who the fuck's a 3-star. It's Taiga, Protoku, Dearmid. Who am I forgetting? Romulus. I swear I'm forgetting someone. Okay, hold on. It's Hector, Baldy, Romulus, Taiga, Protoku, Dearmid, and obviously Ku. Is that all the 3-star Lancers? I think that is. So yeah, I mean, I would say probably Protoku is probably the second best. It's just I would rate him quite far behind regular Ku, like quite far behind. I would say it's Protoku, and then Dearmid's pretty close, but yeah, it's Protoku and Dearmid, I would say. And then a good bit behind them is like Romulus, and then Hector, and then Baldy. There's less 3-star Lancers than I thought. Oh yeah, and I'd say Taiga. Taiga's up there, but I don't think Taiga's as good as Protoku. I really don't. Like, she's just not as reliable, straight up. Her cooldowns are just too long. They're just way too fucking long. Yeah, on my tier list, I'm not surprised Protoku's is second. Like, I would say Protoku's second best. Because he still has good damage and really good survivability, and then some nice utility with the anti-debuff stuff, and then a niche against beasts. Like, that's all really good. Like, he's good. It's just, he's not on par with stuff, like, the equivalent stuff of other classes. Never mind Ku. Literally, never mind regular Ku, right? Protoku is not the equivalent to, like, what Ushi is to Riders. You know, Protoku is not what she is to Riders. You know, he's not that to Lancers. He's not. You know, he's not on par with Robin or Hundred Face or Bedivere or you know, or Ricky Boy even. Like, he's just not. He's well behind that stuff. But he is good. He is good. What is a good buff for Taiga? Honestly, just buffing her in P would be nice. It's honestly annoying to me that her kit is so bursty and has all these damage up abilities, but then she doesn't have an upgraded NP. It's like, if you're going to be really focused on damage, you want all the things, right? You want the damage up abilities, and you want the upgraded NP, right? Like that's kind of the thing. But she needs shorter cooldowns, because a lot of units can live long enough. Okay, here's the thing. Whales overlook this all the time, because they try to 3-turn everything, right? And so they don't need, the cooldown length barely matters to them. Where budget people, you never kill things that fast, right? And so being able to use your skills 2 or 3 times or maybe 4 times in longer fights, that's a really big deal, right? And that's really hard to do with her because her cooldowns are just so long. And she doesn't have it's not like her burst is so good that she's, oh, you know, one and done. It's like, yeah, she does a nice burst, but it's not that good. And then her cooldowns are so long, she's probably not going to use them again. That's just not good enough. So, like, her big skill just needs to be a shorter cooldown, honestly. So I'd like to see 2 buffs for her. NP buff, and then just lower her goddamn cooldowns like they did for Fionn and Ku for some reason, because, you know, Ku needed a lower cooldown on his guts. Like, you know, that made sense. I probably would not... you have to be very careful. When you give a character a niche, and then you give them an ability so they can use it all the time, it's not a niche anymore, right? Like, you have to be very careful about that. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think Taiga, she has enough stuff going for her that she doesn't need to be able to make the field jungle, right? And at that point, it's like it's kind of nicer for her to have a bonus if it's jungle. Like I think that's okay. I wouldn't really do her like Gwen. I think just giving her more standard straight value and just fixing that up some would fix her pretty well. Because there are good things about her. For example, you know, she's a good enough budget DPS. Okay, let's say you got your account and you have no good Gold Lancer. You know, you don't have Enkidu, you don't have Brunhilde, you don't have Scath. You know, you don't have any big boy Gold Lancer. Right? But you got Merlin. So at this point, you know, let's say maybe you don't like Ku. Let's say you don't even like Ku. So like, you know, I don't want to level Ku. Everyone levels Ku. I don't really like him. But I like Proto Ku and I like Taiga. Which one should I level? Now, on average, I would say Proto Ku is better. But because you've got Merlin, I would say, no, maybe you level Taiga instead. Because she's Buster and she's got synergy with Buster. So I'm like, yeah, you should probably level, you know, maybe Shakespeare Qingong and level your Merlin and then Taiga. You know, this makes sense, right? So she's good enough that it can kind of come down to what kind of team are you running, what kind of supports do you have. But if everything's equal, then I would say Proto Ku is better, definitely. Hey Shadow. Yeah, I really miss streaming, but yeah, this whole sleep apnea thing has been rough. I'm actually gonna have to wrap up kind of soon. I get quite a bit of brain fatigue, so you can feel it. Yeah, it sucks. It's probably gonna be a while before we get back to normal, but and yeah, I mean, at some point, I'm probably gonna have to have that surgery, and whenever that happens, I'm gonna be out of it for quite a while, but we'll see. So yeah, the issues with Baldi is it's like, first of all, he's very RNG dependent. This is no small thing. He is very RNG dependent. To the point where a lot of times you can't even set him up like you're supposed to, right? Especially on a budget team. Now, on a whale team, you can kind of force it generally. But on a budget team, a lot of times shit just does not go right in the first few turns, and it's not happening. So that's a huge drawback, and there's just not enough units that support him, and it's just not enough value. It's too much work for not enough payoff, right? To get that good payoff, you generally need the whale supports, and at that point, you could have enabled anyone. So he's just not there. Like, what I'd like to see them do is, I always say this, give him a battery. For God's sakes, give him an MP battery. I think that would be a massive, massive help to him. And then, like, I mean, that might be all you need to do, honestly, because he's a unit that benefits from that more than almost anybody. Because if you're able to get Baldi's, there's still going to be some RNG, I'll say that. Like, if he's got a battery and a little bit of RNG, let's say you're able to double NP, right? And you got Hans to help with the stars and stuff. So you've been able to double NP with Baldi fairly quickly. There's still RNG in that. Now you need him to get good cards at the right time, because you may only have a turn or two of having double buffs, and then you might just get a terrible hand, right? And then it's like, well, fuck, right? So there's still going to be some RNG, but that just kind of is what it is, right? But I'd say if he's got a battery, like, he snowballs off of his NP so hard. That's the thing. If he can stabilize, he's amazing. Once Baldi has two NPs up, and if he gets cards, he makes so many stars because he has so much star gen up and so much attack up. Then he basically can maintain himself. You know, once he gets going, he stays going. It's just, can you get to that point? Because then when you're making that many stars, you're like always critting, and always critting means, you know, art crits and quick crits, so even more stars and even more NP gain. So once he gets rolling, you're good, right? But he needs help getting to that point. And then also just the value that he gets once he is rolling is, it's no Orion. That's the thing. You know, Orion, you know, whenever you have NPs that do 0 damage and you need build up time and all that, you're in debt in comparison to units that can just boom, go, right? But Orion does enough damage that he can pay off the debt. That's the thing. It's like Orion does so much fucking damage that, yeah, his NP just did 0, but he can easily pay that off and then some, right? So it's worth it. Baldi, he struggles to do that, right? He can do it eventually, and especially if he gets lucky. If Baldi gets lucky, he can really pay off his damage debt pretty quick. But if he doesn't get lucky, it can take forever or never, right? So it's just really annoying. And then again, because budget units don't synergize well with it, what I'm getting at is he just needs things that make him more reliable. I don't think Baldy needs anything crazy like, oh, a big attack up or a big crit up or, you know, I don't think he really needs shit like that. He just needs things that stabilize him and allow him to do what he's supposed to do more often. Like, just make it less RNG dependent and then he'll be fine. Yeah, he may not be the best unit ever, but he doesn't need to be. It's okay. It's like, he's good enough. Yeah, there's a lot of risk to those kind of surgeries, and they don't always work, and sometimes your body doesn't react well to them. There's so many reasons. So I've always wanted to not have that surgery, just because like I've wanted to be able to just, you know, find a way to deal with my allergies and stuff on my own, you know, on my own, and not have to have it. But you know, it's been a pretty consistent problem in my life, and it's just gonna get worse as I get older. And this sleep apnea thing has really scared me, because I mean it's scary, man. Your brain stops functioning properly. You know, my heart rate has just been through the fucking roof. Because like basically if you're not getting oxygen properly, your heart tries to compensate and starts pumping blood like a motherfucker. And that's very hard on your heart, right? So I mean, I was scared out of my mind for a few days there, dude, because like seriously, my brain was not functioning well at all because I wasn't getting proper sleep. And as I get older, it's like that's gonna get worse, right? Like you need more sleep when you get older. You know, you become less able to get around the house and these things when you get much older and stuff. And like dealing with, you know, the allergy problems is going to be a problem. So it's a worry. You know, I've had a lot of problems with allergies throughout my life. But in terms of like dealing with sleep and stuff, this is the worst it's ever been. And you know, it's been scary, so I've really been thinking about it more, but I need to talk to a doctor and sit down. Because I've talked to doctors a lot in the past about this, but you know, I've gotten older now, things have changed, you know, I've never had this much, you know, problems with the breathing, so. Actually, that's not entirely true. I have had problems like this with breathing before, but it was during like when I'd have like a sinus infection, and like I get really bad sinus infections that are like, I mean, life destroying. Like it's like a month of you're just dealing with this, and honestly, like I wouldn't even notice if like, yeah, my sleep fucking sucks, because whenever I have like really bad sinus infections, I'm so heavily medicated. I'm normally on like a fucking steroid, and steroids like really help with the sinus stuff. So it's never like been. I don't think it's ever been this bad. I actually remember once though. This was a trip. I had a terrible sinus infection, and it had affected my sleep really badly. It wasn't really sleep apnea though, because sleep apnea is like when you're kind of sleeping, but you're waking up all the time, and your brain's not getting like restful sleep and stuff. I was basically just not sleeping at all for long periods of time when I had this sinus infection. And then I remember when I finally got this steroid from my doctor, they were like, okay, you know, this is going to make it difficult to sleep because it like, you know, it affects your heart rate, and you know, it's very difficult to sleep when like you have like medication like that. But I had gone so long without sleeping, it did not matter. I remember I was on this steroid that's supposed to make it really difficult to sleep, and I slept like a rock, just because like the second I wasn't having like all this like congestion problems, I was gone. So that was kind of funny. Dude, I tell you, steroids like that are aimed at like inflammation and stuff, those are pretty fucking powerful. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't see the kind of doctor I would need to see for this kind of thing. They're completely booked for like over a month, so it's pretty fucked. Man, that sounds rough, Beastly. Because I know a lot about sinus infections, because I get them if I can get like a minor ass cold, and I can like deal with the cold really well, but I'll still get a sinus infection, so I've read on them and stuff a lot. And I've heard chronic sinus infections, they can basically get to the point where you basically just have a sinus infection for your entire life. So yeah, I can see why you would get the surgery at that point, because I don't think I could not live like that. There's no way. Like that. Like, it's bad enough if you have like a sinus infection for like a month, right? Like that's bad enough, right? Like but if it's chronic, yeah, that sounds terrible. I have no idea how anyone could live with that. All right, is this the last? I think this is the last stage for this thing. Thank God. I used to get a sinus infection every year, but I've done I've done so much research and I've talked to doctors and I've done so. Basically I got to the point through my life that it was so bad. I was like, okay, I'm going to start trial and erroring this. Every time I get a sinus infection, I would do so much trial and error on like what works, what doesn't work, you know, and I've gotten to the point where I can deal with them pretty well, where I can prevent them from like, because they basically snowball. If you let them get bad, they will get so bad. But I've gotten really good at like, before I even have a sinus infection, I start taking medication. I start doing like a neti pot every day. I get a humidifier going. I drink tea constantly. So if I get on top of it, I can generally stay on top of it so it doesn't get too bad. And I basically just found like the right combination of things over time that I can deal with them pretty well. These still suck balls and they take forever to recover from. But yeah, I kind of just like, yeah, we'll just go scientific method on this, and eventually I've gotten good enough at dealing with them. And ever since then, I've never had one that's so bad that I can't stand it. But you know, it could happen again. So cross your fingers. I don't want to get cocky or anything. It's kind of funny how many problems the human immune system gives itself. Like, a lot of times when you get sick and stuff, it's your own immune system overreacting that actually causes a lot of problems. And sometimes your immune system's not overreacting, it's doing stuff that's necessary that's just very uncomfortable. But like allergies and stuff are almost entirely your immune system, you know, freaking out over something that it's not supposed to freak out over. And, you know, it makes you miserable, right? Like, it's kind of nuts, like, how bad that can be. Like, allergies can, I mean, they can kill you, for God's sakes, you know, like, you know, quite easily, actually, so. Yeah, the human body can be surprisingly resilient, but also incredibly stupid. Yeah, that's pretty much how that is. Alright, let's get Best Boy our buff here. Random Awawa. I find it so insulting that she is a 5-star, by the way. And I'm not hating on her character or anything like that, but it's just like... And we all know this at this point. Rarity does not mean anything in terms of lore power. There are all kinds of incredibly powerful characters lore-wise that are low star. A lot of characters that are very weak lore-wise that are 4 and 5 stars. You know, it's all over the place, right? But it's just ridiculous. She is such a niche writer, right? And then you've got Shakespeare and Hans and all that, and they're fucking 2-star. It's silly, man. Like, it's just silly. Like, this is such a random ass fucking person, and you know, not even a 4-star, a 5-star. And then William Shakespeare, one of the most impactful writers on the planet, even if you don't like him. That's the thing, I don't even like Shakespeare's works that much. I like his comedies a lot, but I can still easily see, you know, how much he contributed to writing as a whole, and also the English language, and then how much the English language has impacted the planet. Like, he is such an impactful person, and they even say that. They say that in his bio. They acknowledge that he's one of the most impactful writers that's ever lived. Then they don't give a fuck. Yeah, it's because she's Japanese, but also because she's a waifu. That's I think it's a bigger part of it. Like, if they were gonna waifu Shakespeare, he'd probably be a 4 or a 5-star. Like, they obviously are very biased to the Asian stuff. That's fairly obvious. Like, I've actually never seen someone argue that. I'm sure someone out there acts like they're not, but I mean, it's obvious that that there's a lot of bias towards like Chinese and Japanese servants. That's very obvious, right? Most people don't dispute that, and you know, in somewhat that's fine. You know, especially in terms of like the ratio, I don't mind. It honestly does not bother me that there's more Japanese and Chinese servants in the game than other things. That does not bother me. You know, they're a Japanese developer. That's fine, right? Like, if an American developer focuses mostly on American stuff, that's fine too. That's no problem. If you know, if a Swedish developer focuses on a lot of that stuff, that's fine, right? A lot of the Nordic stuff, you know, that's totally fine. No, you kind of expect that. That's, you know, that's cool. No biggie. What bothers me is the stuff it's like when they do decide to do a singularity based in Japan, then everything's Japanese, right? And then when they decide to do a singularity based in America, almost nothing's American, right? Like, it's just annoying. Like, that's the stuff that bothers me. It doesn't bother me that there's more Japanese stuff or there's more Chinese stuff. That's fine. That's no big deal. You know, that's kind of what you expect, you know, and people, you know, they're going to focus more on the stuff that they care about personally and stuff. No issue. But if you are going to bother to when you do decide to do Shakespeare, when you do decide to do Hans, when you do decide to do Mozart, when you do decide to set a story in America or in Sweden or Hungary or something, you need to, you know, get off your ass and do those things justice, right? And if you don't want to do a good job on American servants, and you don't want to put in the effort, don't set a story in America then. That's the thing, right? I've always said that, you know, if you don't, you know, if you're like a Korean developer and you don't want to, like, you know, put a lot of effort into American stuff, don't set your story in Chicago. Like, no shit, Einstein, right? It's just insulting if you're going to do William Shakespeare, you know, one of the most, I'd probably say the most impactful writer on the planet, and he's a 2-star, and his bio is like 2 pages. Oh, it's like nothing. His bio is like 3 words or some shit. You know, I pretty much his bio is just saying how. I think his bio is basically just saying how famous he is, and that's it. You know, and the writer for Shakespeare and Fate Apoc put plenty of effort into him, right? And the character design is fine. Like, seriously, outside of FGO, they did fine with Shakespeare. They did totally fine with Shakespeare, but in FGO, they really did not. Oh yeah, I think people have heard of the Tale of Genji. Like, they don't know much about it or anything, but it's at least something. Like, no one on the, like, basically no one on the planet doesn't know who William Shakespeare is, right? Like, it's just, it's not even comparable. It's not even remotely comparable. And I wouldn't, again, I don't really care if you want to do Awawa and make her a 5-star, but then you also need to make Shakespeare a 5-star, right? Like, it's just silly. But I do think some people get really ridiculous about this, and they like demand, you know, representation for everything equally and all. That's stupid, right? Like, no, it's like, if a Japanese developer wants to mostly focus on Japanese stuff, that's fine. That's totally fine. And like, not only is it fine, that's sensible, because that's the stuff they're going to understand best. Like, because not every and FGO is kind of unique because the premise that they decided to take on is very global, right? They decided to take on a premise about all these legends and stuff from history from all around the world, right? You know, Fate Stay Night was, for God's sakes, mostly not Japanese stuff. You know, it was, you know, it was mostly Greek, actually. You know, they had Medusa, Medea, Hercules, right? So, you know, from the get-go, Fate was kind of, you know, if you're going to take on that kind of thing, you need to do your research. Which they did, right? They did. That's the thing. Fate Stay Night did do a good job. There's hardly any Japanese stuff in Fate Stay Night, for one thing. And then when they did do Kojiro and Ku and all that stuff, they did their fucking research, right? So no problem. But that's not really the case with FGO a lot of the time. And it's not universal. I think sometimes FGO does do a really good job. It just depends on, you know, who they decide to, you know, give the character to. But yeah, a lot of Japanese stories aren't FGO. That's the thing. A lot of Japanese developers are not taking on a concept like, oh yeah, it's gonna be Blackbeard versus Robin Hood, right? They're not doing that. There's like, hey, it's some story set in Japan, right? Like you know, Code Geass, you know, is most, you know, Area 11, but it's Japan, right? That's fine, right? Like that's fine. It's not a problem, right? If an American developer wants to set a story in, you know, a random place in America, that's kind of what you expect. And so then, of course, the characters are mostly going to be American and everything. That's fine, no big deal. I think, you know, people should take on what they're comfortable taking on. You don't need to shoehorn in, you know, every nationality and every, you know, just cause. That's silly. But, you know, my point has always been, is like, if you're going to be like a Japanese developer and you're going to be like, hey, let's make a story set in New York, then yeah, you need to do your research. And if you're not willing to do that research, you're not wanting to have most of your cast be American, don't make a story set in New York. Right? Like, holy shit, right? Like, this is not that complicated. Now, again, I don't have a problem. Let's say, for example, a Japanese developer or a writer, they want to make a story set in New York, and the main character is going to be Japanese. That's fine. No problem. That's fine. Wouldn't bug me. Wouldn't bat an eyelash at that. But of course, all the characters around them need to be American. Like, it'd be insane if you write a story in New York and the main character happens to be Japanese, and then literally every fucking major character, like the antagonist is Japanese, and like the side characters are all Japanese. It's like what? Like, that's just silly, right? Why are you even setting it in New York at that point, right? Like, there's no point. And if an American developer wants to set a story in Tokyo, same deal, right? Like, you need to have a lot of the characters be Japanese, even if the main character happens to be a foreigner or something, right? Like, it's like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I think Fate, you know, they kind of owe it to have... I don't think they need to have equal representation. They just owe it to when they tackle something to tackle it well, because, you know, sometimes they put an effort and sometimes they don't. And it feels kind of stupid when you've got, you know, the Chinese singularity being all like Chinese servants and the Japanese singularity being literally nothing but Japanese servants. But then when they do almost any other nationality, they barely touch that nationality, right? It's like, what the fuck? Right, like that's pretty insulting at that point. And I forgot to target switch. I was supposed to NP Awawa. This is a very wasted turn. That is a lot of wasted value right there. But yeah, it's yeah, God, fucking. I see a lot of complaints from Russians about Russia, and I do sympathize. That was a mess. Like that really was a mess. At least I will say this. I legitimately stand by this. I've looked into it. I've talked to enough people like on our Discord that are Russian and stuff. You know, I get it, like, but I really do think America got a worse shake than Russia did. I really do, because at least you did get Ivan and Anastasia, and yeah, I get it. Ivan's depiction is not exactly what you would want. I get that. But they were, you can't deny that they were like power players, and like they're the heart of the story. Like really, Ivan and Anastasia are the heart of the story. Look at them, the America singularity, dude. Like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, I think Anastasia was done fine, and then again, she's really important. And America is so insulting, dude. Like, what the actual fuck? Like, there's hardly any Americans there, and none of them play a major role in the story at all. Like, what the fuck? Like, the story's about fucking Coup Alter, you know, fan fiction Coup, and Mev and Scath, and it's like, and then like Arjuna and Karna. It's like, what? Like, it's bullshit. Like, the number of Americans are slightly higher than the number of Russians, but their role in the story is a joke, right? So I really do think the American singularity is bad. I think it's really bad, right? Like, it's just insulting, and they're throwing away a lot of opportunity. And I like Celtic stuff, but that was not the time. Like, holy shit, was that not the time, right? Like, that was really dumb. I really do think the American, and I'm not just saying this because I'm American. When you just look at it, it's really stupid. Right? Like, they have almost no Americans there. They're like a token role in the story, right? It's super Celtic for some fucking reason. It's just so wasted. It's just so fucking wasted. Like, I do think Russia's bad too. I get it. I do think Russia did Russia kind of dirty, but I don't think it's that dirty, because again, Anastasia I think is fine. She plays a huge role in the story. And I think also the writing in America is pretty bad, because it's just old FGO though. That's not they weren't trying, seriously, I do not believe for a second that they were trying to give America the finger. I think their writing in America is kind of lazy and stuff, just because early FGO writing was shit. I actually think America was the first story where they started to give a shit. They didn't give a lot of a shit, but I think America is literally the first story in FGO where they started to give some kind of a shit. But it's still pretty bad. But like with Russia, I think the writing in Russia is way better. They have way more effort is put into the storytelling in Russia than there was in America. Like, way more effort is put into the storytelling. But yeah, there's not much Russian stuff in the Russian singularity, and that sucks. It legitimately sucks, especially when they really do have a rich history to pull from. So I do think that was pretty lame. Like, yeah, well, I mean, the Anastasia movie, by the way, is not made by Disney, by the way, but, you know, it's a real story outside of that, obviously. But yeah, there's a lot more stuff, you know, like Baba Yaga, you know, Catherine the Great, you know, there's there's a lot. You know, obviously Rasputin too, but they haven't really used him yet. And it's basically just Codamine. But there's a lot to pull from, and yeah, they really didn't. But you know who else got? I think the ones that have gotten wrecked the hardest. Okay, I really think America's gotten wrecked the hardest, and here's why. Everything I just said about America is why, but then also because they keep setting stories in America and they keep giving America the middle finger. Salem, although a lot of they don't put any attention on this, is set in America, right? And yeah, but they didn't focus on anything. You know, that's not a thing. You know, they've done a million summer events set in America. There's a lot of stories set in America. It's actually kind of ridiculous how many stories are set in America. Yeah, also rip Canada. Yeah, actually Canada. Seriously, Canada is the one that's been fucked the most. Because it's kind of tied though, because they've set more stories in America, right? They haven't really ever set any stories in Canada, but they have set stories kind of vaguely in the northern part of North America, right? And all the Paul Bunyan stuff, right? Don't get me started on that, which literally ignores the existence of Canada when like those legends just come from the Great Lakes before there was a border and everything, right? So big problem on that one, right? So yeah, Canada and America though I think has been fucked. I do think America's kind of been more fucked though, just because they keep setting story after story after story in America, and they keep not adding American legends and stuff. It's ridiculous. Where with Canada, they just forget Canada exists entirely, right? Literally, if anyone doubts it, go read Paul Bunyan's Bon CE, right? And just to refresh everyone, Paul Bunyan's legend does not come from Canada or America, because it started before there was a border between Canada and America. It just originates from the northern part of Northern America, specifically around the Great Lakes. Right, so it's a shared legend. Now it's kind of grown. It's kind of become more of a thing in America than in Canada, but it is a thing in Canada. And then regardless if Canada, if it's famous in Canada or not, there's just no denying that area of the world, the frontier, is shared between America and Canada. That's just a fact. And then you read Paul Bunyan's Bon CE, and it reads something like, you know, blah blah blah, the frontier, but now only one country remains. It's like no, two countries actually remain, Einstein. They literally just forgot, right? And they've never made a Canadian singularity or servant ever. Even though Paul Bunyan technically is Canadian as well, they did never acknowledge that, right? Because they fucking forgot. Like, they literally forgot Canada existed, right? So, like most of the world, unfortunately. So yeah, it's pretty rough. Canada and America have gotten shafted really hard. Like, America is remembered, but shat on all the time. Canada doesn't get shat on, but they don't even get remembered, right? So I guess it's kind of apples and oranges and who's got it worst on that front. Also, I think Hungary has got it pretty bad, because Hungary really does have a rich history, and it even is tied to a lot of other histories in Europe that they've tapped into a lot, and they just completely ignore Hungary. There's like, nope, fuck it. Like, it makes no sense. Like, and there's some other European countries like that they're very tied to the history of France and England and stuff, and they're just like, yeah, no, those countries don't exist. And it's like, oh, okay. Because there's a lot of other countries that have not been acknowledged yet. Like, there's a lot of, like, you know, honestly, there's a lot of countries that have not been acknowledged yet. But they're also not, unfortunately, they're not kind of on the world stage as much. So you can kind of, you know, see why they've been ignored. I still think they should give them their focus. I think it's just cool. Seriously, this is not like an SJW inclusion thing. Like, I have no issue if a Japanese company wants to make a story set in Tokyo and every character's Japanese. No problem. Don't give a shit. That's fine. But when you have a story that's all about the, you know, the world history, that's just Fate is about world history. That's just what it is. So I think it's awesome if you want to set a story in like a really niche, you know, country in a part of the world and focus on their history and their geography and stuff. That's awesome. Why not? That's cool. I'd love to see that stuff, because, you know, I'm really big into history, but there's a lot of areas that I haven't done that much research in. Yeah, like a lot of South American stuff and South African stuff, or just African countries in general. It's like, yeah, a lot of that stuff they could really tap into a lot of that stuff. And yeah, it really sucks to not visit those things. It's like, why not? There's no reason not to, so. What am I doing? Is this the, yeah, this is the Caesar one, okay. fuck it. We'll double Berserker, let's go. Rex, it's your moment. Yeah, Spain should definitely get more love too. I'm actually surprised they haven't. I'm really surprised that they haven't. Yeah, there's a. And I will say, I feel like FGO does worse than almost everything else in Fate. If you look at like Fate Labyrinth, Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, all those, I think they do a pretty good job, honestly. And there just hasn't been enough books for them to get to everything. But I feel like a lot of the books do a pretty good job of like, yeah, they mostly focus on like Greek and that kind of stuff. You know, they're really mainstream known legends. But that's fair enough. Most of the Moggists are gonna go for those servants anyway. That's fine. But they do throw in some, you know, nice curveballs. I think they've had a healthy mix of like mainstream legends with then some kind of, you know, niche stuff. So I think the main books like APOC, Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, you know, Fate Labyrinth, I think they've done a pretty good job. I think FGO though has done a pretty bad job, I would say. Dude, I am so surprised they have not done more Arabian stuff. I don't get that. That stuff's really famous. I don't. Maybe it's just like not famous in Japan specifically. But I mean, seriously, like Sinbad, 40 Thieves, you know, Aladdin, all these things. Like Jesus, like I'm really surprised they haven't done more with that. That's some really famous stuff, and that, like, dude, doing like Sinbad would be cool. And like, what's his name, King, how do I forget his name? Gold guy, Nidus or something? I don't remember his name. But Midas, that's the one. Thank you. Yeah, King Midas. That's an awesome one. Like, holy fuck. Like, that stuff is not only famous, but also just really. I'm like, holy shit. Okay, I'm serious. I think King Midas could be one of the more interesting things they could do, because his story is like really about like this balance of greed and power and the practical side of it as well and everything. So it's like, my god, that could be interesting as a servant. Because on the surface level, it could just be cool to have a servant that could turn things to gold, right? Like that's already cool. Like the animations and stuff, that could be awesome. And his NP could obviously like be turning an enemy into gold, right? Like that, I mean, come on, that's really badass. And in terms of like really that could be a really powerful NP, honestly, that'd be cool. But then the character side of it, my god, the options there are awesome. So it's like, I really want them to do that. That would be fantastic. And yeah, the 40 Thieves could be really cool. Fucking Open Sesame, all that stuff. Like, why not? But yeah, I don't get it, man. Some of the stuff is not really, like, I feel like the books will probably tap into that kind of stuff, you know? I mean, for God's sakes, they're doing Alexander Dumas, so, but yeah, I don't know about FGO, man. Yeah, and Aladdin, like, even without Disney, Aladdin is really famous, like, holy shit. Yeah, we do have Ricky Boy. That was pretty niche. That was actually so niche. Dude, that was one of the first times that they've I think that might be the first time that they added a character, and I was like, who is that? Like, I literally was like, what? Almost always, I just have a vague idea of who they are. And often, I very much knew who they are. But I literally had to look that one up, and I was still like, what? Like, I had to deep dive pretty hard on that one to figure out who the fuck he even was. I was like, I was really confused. And I was like, he's literally mentioned in like a story about like the palace of Charlemagne. Like, it is so minor. And even he in the game was just like, yeah, I don't know why I'm a servant. Yeah, apparently, I didn't check, but apparently he did not even have a Wikipedia page until after FGO. So that was pretty wild. Like, he only had a Wikipedia page in different languages. He did, like, in English anyway, he did not have a Wikipedia page. I do know, though, that, like, the poem that he was from did have a Wikipedia page. Or story, or whatever, I'm not sure if it's a poem or not. But, like, I know the story that he was from did have a Wikipedia page. But he himself did not. But yeah, he is definitely the nichest thing they've ever done. Because although there's like other countries that are more niche and stuff like that, their most famous legends are more known than he was. Like their pantheon of gods and stuff are still, you know, known enough where if you look them up, you can find information on them. Like he was just like a giant, like I literally had no idea for quite a while, so that was pretty funny. I want to say there's been like one or two other characters that I didn't recognize their name offhand, but once I looked them up, I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. Not very many though. Normally I know who they are. Like generally I know who they are. Like everyone from Fate Stay Night, I knew who they were. I think. I'm trying to remember if there was anyone from Fate Stay Night that I didn't know. I think I knew everyone. Yeah, I knew everyone from Fate Stay Night. I knew everyone from Fate Zero. I think I knew everyone from APOC too, I think. But yeah, I mean, I was huge into history though before Fate, so I mean, generally I do all right. But there's a lot of the Chinese ones I normally have to look up, and I normally I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard of this. But a lot of the Chinese ones I had to look up because I didn't remember the names like at all. Like Zifu or how the fuck you say the name. Like I did know of that person, but I did not remember that name. Like I knew of like a famous like Chinese alchemist and stuff, but like I didn't remember like the name going with that legend at all, and I had to look that one up. Oh yeah, and Korea's gotten shafted really hard, but that's because that's obviously intentional on it, so there's no denying it. They have blatantly singled out Korea and not done Korean stuff. Why? I don't know. The reason could be all kinds of things. It could be they're afraid of backlash. It could be that they don't like Korea. It could be, you know, just there's so, you know, it's. I'm sure it's political for sure, but like which side of it, you know, it could be either they're afraid of backlash or they're the ones saying fuck Korea. It could be either one because that happens all the time, unfortunately. There's a lot of bad blood between Korea and Japan even to this day. It's very normal. It sucks, but it is what it is. Okay, I can say this with a lot of authority because I am Korean and I know a lot of Koreans. Korea was not mad about Guda. That was literally like 10 guys on Twitter. I've said this every time. Korea was not mad about Guda. Korea didn't even know about Guda. There was a few people on Twitter that were mad, or on social media in general, and then Japan and America, and we take those few things and blow them up and act like it's all of Korea. And I gotta defend Korea a bit here, and I will say Korea can get way overly butthurt over political things, and they can like play the victim a lot, and they can exaggerate things. But they also, Korea gets scapegoated like crazy. This happens to Korea all the time, where you'll have like a movement of like a few hundred people, you know, that are mad about something, and then the media tries to scapegoat all of Korea to try to act like all of Korea is mad over this thing. And like, oh, look how childish they're being, right? It's bullshit. Like, this happens all of the time. I mean, Korea gets a bad end of the media stick constantly. And it's not because of racism to Korea, it's because of outrage culture. Because this just happens in general. Outrage culture just results in this stuff all the time. And just due to kind of Korea's unique place in the world and their fucked up history and everything, this happens to them. Because, you know, there are people in Korea that are mad over things, and sometimes justifiably so. Like, I mean, Jesus Christ, I mean, Korea has been shafted. I mean, I'm sorry, I may be biased because, you know, a lot of my family was Korean, but it's pretty hard to look at the history and be like, yeah, Korea didn't get shafted. No, Korea got shafted. Right, like the treatment of Korea from Japan was horrid. Right, it's not like, I mean, South Korea never did anything, right? This is just a fact. South Korea never went around doing war crimes. South Korea never started any fucking wars. They never did anything, right? And you know, a lot of horrible things have been done to them, right? So they've had a rough time in history, right? Now, that does not always justify, you know, you don't blame the son for the sins of the father, you know, of course, right? And there's a lot of times, you know, Korea does overreact to things and blah, 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 blah. But generally, you know, like I said, I think Korea gets scapegoated a lot. And like, again, with the Guda thing, that was such a scapegoat, like, but that's not unique to Korea. That just happens all the time. And it goes in all directions, because companies are really stupid about this. literally some people will be mad on Twitter and they act like that represents humanity as a whole. So they'll literally let like such a minority of like butthurt morons on Twitter, they'll get them to dictate like what they do, right? They'll let them cancel IPs or products and stuff when the mainstream actually doesn't care. It's stupid, right? Like you see this all the time, where you have a bunch of like reeing, banshees on Twitter, mad about some absolutely stupid nonsense, and then you have companies take it seriously and like cancel things and stop doing it. It's dumb. It's very dumb. But yeah, so like it goes both ways. I do think there's a minority of people in Korea that would probably get mad if they did Korean Legends in FGO. Honestly, though, I think way more Koreans would be happy, and then way more Koreans still literally wouldn't care. But I do think there would be a very small minority of Koreans that would be, reeing on social media. And then I think DW would take that seriously or Aniplex would take that seriously for some fucking reason. And that is probably why we don't get any Korean stuff in FGO. But it's obvious, Korea's history is obviously very much tied to Asia's. It's pretty insane to cover Asian history and just act like Korea doesn't exist, which is what Fate does. And the reason for them to behave that way is it's either they don't like Korea or they're afraid of the backlash. It's one of the two. So, and one of those is obviously a lot worse than the other. I suspect they're afraid of the backlash. There may be some individuals that, are racist to Korea, but I doubt as a whole, I don't think Aniplex and DW are racist to Korea. Now they might be, and I don't know, but I doubt it. Again, maybe some individuals are, but as a company, I don't think so. I overwhelmingly think the rather obvious them dodging Korea is just them being afraid of the backlash. Very much so, because they've been afraid of the backlash for many things like that. So, but yeah, there's a lot of bad blood between Japan and Korea still. Like, it goes both ways. It's not just Korea. It goes both ways. And I saw it firsthand from like my grandmother. Man, she did. She wouldn't like attack a Japanese person, but she did not want to socialize with Japanese people. She just didn't. And it's easy to be like, oh, that's racist, and yeah, it kind of is. But she was in the Korean War, and she was persecuted by Japanese and everything, and obviously traumatized by that. And so she just didn't want to be around Japanese people. She just didn't. And like, yeah, that's kind of racist, but it's easy to get on your soapbox and be like, oh yeah, I shouldn't be that way. But you weren't persecuted by Japanese people, and you weren't shot. And because my grandmother was actually shot in the Korean War and stuff. It was pretty messed up, right? So it's like, I'd be a lot harsher on my grandmother if she did things that had negative effects on Japanese. She didn't even speak ill of Japanese people. She did not. But like when she was around Japanese people, she would normally avoid them, and you could just tell she was not happy to be around them and those kinds of things. But she never did anything to harm Japanese people. She never like tried to advocate for like political movements that were like against Japan. She never did anything like that. But it was very obvious that she did not want to be around Japanese people. It was very blatant. And yeah, that especially from people from her generation, because she was quite old. That was pretty normal. Yeah, I think, and unfortunately, that's very normal beyond just Korea and Japan. I think a lot of people will have, bias to certain, oh, they'd rather be around this crowd than that crowd, and they make assumptions of certain groups. It doesn't have to be race-related. It can just be like, people with brown hair, or people that are religious, or people that aren't religious. People are just like that. We characterize people a lot, and it's just kind of how humans are, so. Well, that's some shitty stuff that I don't really want to talk about on Twitch, so. But yeah, it's pretty blatant. FGO has avoided Korean stuff like the plague. Yeah, at this point, the whole ginger thing is like a meme. But at one point that it was more serious, to a degree. Like the Irish in general, man, had a rough time in history, man. But yeah, it sucks. There's some pretty interesting figures in Korean history that'd be really cool to see. But yeah, we're probably never going to see any of that.
Decrescendo.
第六天魔王からは逃げられん。
Babylon being almost nothing but Japanese characters was pretty silly. That was kind of dumb. Because it made no sense. Like a lot of times, like, you know, Japanese servants in Shimosa makes total sense. Chinese servants in Lost Belt 3, that makes sense. You know, a lot of Greek servants in Lost Belt 5, that makes sense. You know, or like, you know, like Greeks making up a disproportionate amount of like famous people from the ancient world. That's totally fair because, you know, Greek mythology is pretty much the most famous mythology around the world, right? So like, you know, if you have a war where people are trying to like summon the strongest servants to get their hands on in a world where like fame affects things, like in Fate Stay Night, they're being, you know, there's a disproportionate amount of Greek characters in Fate Stay Night, but that's fine. Like that's actually what you would expect, really. But yeah, Babylon being like all Japanese and America being all Celts does not make any fucking sense. That was pretty silly. God, we have another strengthening quest to do for Caesar. God, I'll do that later. I need to wrap up. I am feeling much better today, but I'm still quite fatigued and I need to eat and stuff. Oh, hold on real quick. We gotta bust out a story summon, boys. I should start saving up though, because at this point I don't really need much from the story summon anymore, so I should save up for Asclepius. I will say it has been fun just rolling story constantly on this account. You just get so much weird stuff. Oh, hey, that's actually really good. That's niche as hell. Oh god, I think we're already in P5 Bedivere, so... But that's niche as hell, but when its niche comes up, it's really good to have. It's a really nice one to get, so... I'm okay with that. That was pretty good. Getting Black Grail alone made that worth it. And I think Bedivere is already in P5, but let's check.
いらっしゃい。千里の道も一歩からだ。
Yeah, it looks like he is. Yeah, he is. Okay. Yeah, I need to level Martha. It's hard for me to get in the mindset of leveling golds when you don't have all the silvers up. But yeah, we need some anti-debuff. Just makes sense. No, Phantom can't solo Guadia. I might try when we go. I'd say when we do go fight Guadia, we'll try. We'll give him all the command codes. We'll do all the fancy shit, and we'll see what happens. But there's just no. He'll probably get further than you might think, just because, you know, assassins do have a much easier time there than like night classes do and stuff. But it ain't gonna be pretty. I mean, we got Angra just because, I mean, you can get Angra anytime. I mean, there's no... It's not even that rare if you're doing your FP summon every day. Like, it's gonna happen eventually. Now, we obviously got him quite early, but, I mean, it happens, so... Yeah, we'll do Canis. We'll do Canis. I'll give that one a few chances. We'll do all the big boys that, you know, people have been wanting to see, so... I think we got Mordred off a story summon or some shit. Alright, boys, so thanks for hanging out. Let's see if we can raid somebody here. That's good, we finished Summer 5, so we obviously can't do the challenge quest, but we're not allowed to do it. I think this account could do it. I'm actually sad that I can't try it, because MASH is dead. I think it'd be pretty interesting. Although I guess if we could do it, MASH wouldn't be dead, and then we could literally just summon whatever AoE DPS and use Hans and MASH, and we'd be fine. Like, seriously, even though this account is super new, I don't think you'd have a hard time with that challenge quest. It's as long as you play well, it's just not that hard of a challenge quest. Who are we gonna raid here? Decent amount of people playing FGO right now. I don't know who to raid. Oh, here, we'll raid that, the guy we raided who was in Camelot earlier. It looks like he's playing, in A now, though. Where is he? There we go. Alright, boys. Honestly, if I stream tomorrow or not is just going to be completely up to if I'm able to sleep or not. So if I'm able to sleep well, I'll stream, and we have a lot to catch up on. But if I can't sleep, then I won't. So, but hopefully it'll go all right. I might play. I really do want to play Epic 7 soon. I want to just. I know a lot of people on the channel don't like Epic 7, but I want to check out the new story. They added 3.0. They added some new trash mobs that I want to get. So I kind of want to stream that tomorrow, and we'll just have to stay on top of the murdering the backseaters. All right, boys, you have a good one, and peace.